I request everyone to take your seats, please. The folks at the back side of the stage. Thank you very much. We will start with our prayer song. Prayer by Shivakumar, CFO Bridge partner.
Hello, check. Mm, गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो राम राम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो राम राम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो अल्लाह मालिक ईशा नानक अल्लाह मालिक ईशा नानक जोराष्ट्र महावीर बुद्ध नाम बोलो जोराष्ट्र महावीर बुद्ध नाम बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो राम राम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो ये नाम सारे जीवन सहारे ये नाम सारे जीवन सहारे परमानंद के कोते गद्वारे परमानंद के कोते गद्वारे जो नाम चाहो वो नाम बोलो जो नाम चाहो वो नाम बोलो भाव से बोलो प्रेम से बोलो भाव से बोलो प्रेम से बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो राम राम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो थैंक यू
That was fantastic, super, and really setting the tone for the rest of the events today. So I'm very glad and happy to welcome all of you to CFO Bridge's 10-year celebration today. We have our friends, well-wishers, employees, partners, our clients, current clients, previous clients, and our ecosystem partners. And it is now, over the 10 years' time, it has grown to be a fairly large ecosystem. I'm glad to see, we have been celebrating our end of 1 year, end of 3 year, end of 5 year. We wanted to do a 7-year one, but then the pandemic came. So we celebrate all odd years. This is the first even year we are celebrating. So absolutely brilliant and happy to have everybody here. And we got, we wanted to celebrate this as SME Vidya. Why we wanted to celebrate as SME Vidya? CFO Bridge, I will do a formal speech about CFO Bridge later, but CFO Bridge is an entity which its sole aim is to harness and bring together the finance talent for working with the SMEs, and it is a pretty unique proposition. And that's why we have named this event as SME Vidya event. So there are, while celebrating our 10 years time, we are also having knowledge session for the SMEs, what they should do. And we have thought through, we have very carefully selected the topic, carefully requested the speakers. We have got absolutely star-studded speaker list who is lined up to speak. And whatever we speak on the stage is also on YouTube Live, and it will be available post the event as well as a recorded event. So it will be a fantastic moment for you to be with us this evening and enjoy the wisdom that is coming. And I can guarantee you a few things. A, you will at least pick up 10 business cards of people whom you did not know earlier, at least. A. And B, you will go home with at least a couple of business ideas or new initiatives, new ideas that you will go. And then I'm sure that you will have a lot more inspiration. You will have at least minimum 2 of them today. So that's definitely guaranteed. More to pick up. There's more coming in. There's going to be more on the stage. Picking up more is absolutely up to you. And I will now request one of our earliest clients and a friend, and he's been a well-wisher. His name is VC Karthik. Karthik has been, Karthik met us about 10 years ago, and then from there onwards, we have been having fantastic association with him, and great to see his company growing from about 40 or 45 crores when we were working with him to 500 crores plus right now, and willing to go, ready to get listed. And such a fantastic journey, cracker of a entrepreneur. It is a privilege to have him as our client, and he is here to talk and wish and motivate the CFO Bridge staff. So we are starting with that session, and thank you, Karthik.
Check. I don't know whether I should take that as a sign. But anyway, Srini called me and he said, look, I want you to deliver a keynote address. So I looked up keynote address, right? So I said, what is it that you want me to do? So for the very few people that already know me in the audience, I can't sound smart for more than 10 minutes, right? That's if I try. So I'm not going to try, and that's in private. So I obviously can't sound smart for more than 10 minutes in public, so I'm not even going to try. So I looked up keynote, and typically like Srini, they said you have to inspire people, you have to motivate people. So inspiration to me is, a lot of people go drunk into a Jackie Chan movie last show. And when they come out, you notice most of them feel that they can be Jackie Chan, right? But that only happens if you're a quarter down and if it's the last show. And when you wake up in the morning, you're not Jackie Chan. So then you're back to your own life. So that's inspiration. Motivation, I think just in the CFO Bridge sort of family, there are folks who wake up in the morning and say, "Theek hai, aaj maine coffee pi liya, I'll run a marathon." And there are folks who will just climb mountains. So how exactly do you expect me to kind of inspire these people or motivate these people? It's very difficult. So I said, look, I'm not going to try all that. I'm just going to tell you a simple story, right? And I'm going to tell you the story of CFO Bridge through the eyes of a customer first, of course, one of their earliest customers, a friend, and a well-wisher, right? So like all good stories, let's start at the beginning. In the beginning, you will not believe this, but Srini was a rebel, right? Because who in their right mind gives up a job of being a CFO in a insurance company and starts a CFO firm, right? That itself is a big risk. If I were you, Srini, and if I was CFO of Bharti AXA, I wouldn't have done this, right? I was a bit of a rebel too, I still am, as you can figure out. But at that point of time, we engaged with CFO Bridge. In fact, Srini, we were not even 30 crores when we engaged with you. I don't know where that number came up from, but we were very small about it. I think 15, 20 crores. If I correct, because Akhilesh is my co-criminal from those days, from another cohort. So he remembers, I think we were 10, 15 crores, whatever it was. So I knew nothing of finance. My idea of cash flow was cash in bank at the end of the month, right? So my idea of P&L was cash in bank at the end of every quarter. And my idea for balance sheet was cash in bank at the end of every year. So this was the broad framework in which I operated. And then of course we hired CFO Bridge, which at that time was only Srini. There was no partners, there was no organization, and so on and so forth. And if I'm not mistaken, Manoj, if he's here, I remember Manoj also engaging with us at some point in time, right? Much later, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so the first year was spent just understanding finance, right? And we had some very uncomfortable conversations with our then auditors. And then Srini will unfortunately call a spade, And then if he feels like it, he'll give some Tamil galis also, very respectfully, very respectfully. You won't feel, unless you understand Tamil, when Srini gives you a gali in Tamil, you'll feel that some polite conversation is going on, right? So, of course, 10 years have passed, you forget a lot, right? You don't really remember everything that happened in those 10 years. Nobody does, neither do I. But I remember some memorable moments. So we were also sharing each other's sort of passions as an entrepreneur or each other's vision. One thing I remember Srini telling me very clearly, he said, look, the objective of CFO Bridge is to offer champagne at wine prices. And that kind of just stuck with me, right? So since we are on the subject of alcohol, we discussed Jackie Chan, we discussed a quarter, then we discussed champagne. So I'm generally going to make alcohol the central theme of my keynote and not motivation and inspiration, right? So we started with alcohol, hopefully we'll end with alcohol. So he said this particular statement and it stuck. And clearly when I see this audience, you may not believe this, but at one point of time, CFO Bridge annual meetings used to be held inside a very, very small meeting room in a not so great hotel. I've been part of those meetings also, right? Just to come in and give customer feedback on what's happening and how they could improve their services. Clearly the champagne stroke wine market is not doing too badly. If I were to sum up the audience in this room and the clients and the way that you guys have grown in the last sort of decade. And from an sort of a rebel, clearly you are a tribe, right? Now it's a tribe, slightly more, much larger than just one person and their vision. So a lot of talent, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of drive sort of sitting in the same room. I think the interesting part is that the proof of the pudding is right here in Acres Club, right? So from that small room, which I remember, which 5-6 people had a tough time getting into. These were the small rooms in a hotel banquet room. When you can't afford the large room, they'll give you the small room, right? If you know what I mean. So we used to meet in those rooms. So obviously I'm very happy that we're meeting in a much larger place, and obviously the organization has grown. But here is where I want to say a very important thing, which is that when the going is good, actually the really good people pause and recalibrate, right? Because what sort of got you here may or may not get you to the next level. So instead of inspiring you and motivating you, hopefully I'm going to throw a challenge which you can walk home with. And this also comes from one of my customers, right? So about 15 years ago, one of my customers asked me, because obviously we were running after a certain set of people. He asked me a simple question. He said, we see how many clients do you have in the Fortune 500? The answer is sort of self-explanatory, 500 clients. He said, look, if you service every single client in the Fortune 500, you'll still have only 500 clients. You'll still be running sort of an agency business. So that time these books had not been written. The fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, all these things had not been written. But the client had the foresight to say that unless you expand the scope and the span of your offerings, you're not going to really, I mean, he was referring to two things, right? One was scale of the business, and the other was the purpose behind every business, right? So in this room, obviously there is a lot of talent, there is a lot of knowledge. But the question is, so there is profit, there is process, and obviously there is people. But the question is, can we make this slightly bigger than it is, or orders of magnitude bigger than it is? And I'll tell you why I asked that question, and I'll link it back to my own story a little later. The reason why I ask you this is that one more sentence that somebody taught me, not CFO Bridge, is that cash flow is like oxygen to a business. You run out of cash, you die, right? Pretty much. So I want to kind of modify that statement and say, if cash flow is the oxygen of the business, then financial knowledge, I promise the alcohol analogy, is like alcohol, right? You need it. You need some amount of it on a daily basis just to maintain your sanity, right? So this is the challenge that I'm going to throw to you folks. So if your bloodstream needs to be healthy, that needs to be 1, 2, 3 pegs of alcohol. Don't overdo it. You don't want to be raging alcoholics. You just want to be in a happy zone. So a couple of pegs need to go into your bloodstream on a regular basis. And come to think of it, if you're servicing the cream of the business right now and moving up the value chain, it's all fine and dandy. But don't forget that there are 8 million SMEs in this country alone. And all of them, finance is such an important function. Of course, today we have our own CFO. And through this journey and through the journey of our own CFO, I realized what an important function finance is and how close it is to the founder's office and to the CEO's office, right? And if we hold that statement to be true, and if we hold that 8 million SMEs exist in this country, then I think if you can expand the scope of your purpose, not necessarily the scope of your value chain, you will understand that getting financial knowledge to these people, now it doesn't need to be a bespoke white glove service, right? It can be something as simple as country liquor. And when I say that, the bottom of the pyramid, it could be something as simple as an Excel. It could be something as simple as a Word document. It could be something as simple as a PDF file, or even what you're doing right now, SME Vidya shared across digital platforms, which doesn't really cost you money. Then I think you're impacting the lives of 8 million SMEs, which in turn you're impacting the lives of sort of maybe 100 million people or 50 million people. I think the point that I'm trying to make is if you find the purpose, then profits will have no choice but to naturally follow you. And sort of with that country liquor analogy, I also want to end where I started. We found our purpose. It took us a long time, but we found our purpose inside Buzzworks. And that's how we grew from a sort of a 10, 15 crore company, which was solely focused on making profits, to like a 500 crore organization. And clearly momentum is a thing. So hopefully you'll see us in that 1,000 crore range in the next 2 years. And our purpose moved from profit to generating employment. The moment that frame of reference changed, everything changed. Everything changed. And of course, our profitability also changed, went up, right? So I'll leave you with that, Srini. The champagne market is great, but the wine market is bigger than the champagne market. The beer market is bigger than the wine market. But boss, the country liquor market, you guys have no clue, right? So cheers to that, cheers to CFO Bridge, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are already feeling high, so that was a great, from the highs, and then taking us even higher is the next speaker.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'll introduce Mitesh here. Mitesh is a financial and strategy expert with about 15 years and in startup and angel investment. He began his career with Mandana Industries, which is a limited apparel manufacturing company in 2001. He was heading various projects including the IPO in 2010 and the global licensing with Salman Khan's Being Human, which was in 2011. He joined Ola in 2013, which is one of our leading startup stories that we all know about. And he played a pivotal role in getting Ola to where it is today. He thereafter joined Book My Show in 2016, where he spearheaded finance and the strategic finance in that company, business management. And with this experience of startup world, he has now co-founded IPV in 2018, and he now mentors all the founders across early stage with his smart capital. He is currently focusing on VC and early stage investment, and he is ranked 32 in the angel list by Fortune top 100 angels in India, and so far he has made almost 90 plus investment. So with that, welcome Mitesh. We are so eager to hear you.
Thank you so much. Here? Thanks for that warm intro. But one line in which I didn't understand is that you said he's responsible for where Ola is at today. So I don't know what to make out of it in a good way or bad way. So yeah, but thanks. And then I think it's difficult to succeed speakers like VC Karthik. I love your name, by the way, VC. That's something that we keep practicing every day. And you spoke about being smart, not more than for 10 minutes. Imagine we do it entire day. When we speak with founders or we speak with investors, you have to pretend that you are smart, and that's when you can raise money for startups. So it's kind of a difficult job. Yeah, but thanks for having me over here, Srini. I think so. Srini is a neighbor in both the ways. He doesn't leave me at home. We stay in the same complex. He doesn't leave me at office. We share the same co-working space. And but truly, I think somebody that I really admire in terms of the way he looks at life, the way he looks at business. We've been friends even beyond business also. I've learned how to breathe literally from him, right? Literally, he's taught me yoga and a lot of other things. So thanks, Rini. Thanks for, first of all, for having me over here. Okay, so I think Inflection Point Venture, it's a, we set this up, me along with my two other co-founders, set this up around end of 2018. So very simplistic way, we look at investing into startups at early stage, right? And now we have two AIF funds also, where one is an angel AIF with a corpus of about $40 million plus, called First Port Capital. And we have just recently launched our own VC fund also, which is called Physis Capital, which will soon go on air and start deploying by Q4 of 2022. So I think today I'm just going to use the time allotted to me to talk about one of the topics that probably is the buzzword today around entire country, or especially in the startup world, which is funding winter. I don't know how many of you understand what is funding winter? I'll not raise my hand because I don't understand what is funding winter. I don't know, people just keep using this word as a buzzword all throughout. So I'll start with, I think any financial wisdom have to start with Warren Buffett, as is the customary rule. So I'll start with this statement by Warren Buffett. Every decade or so, dark clouds will fill the economic skies and they'll briefly rain gold. Now, what does this mean? This means today, I think there is a lot of nervousness around how people look at investments in general, be it public markets, be it startup world. And startup world though is the favorite child of everybody to kind of, get their, vent their anger on. That I don't know how these guys get valued and how these guys, kind of raise so much money. And I think they deserve this because, the way they've raised money and the way they've spent money, I think this is the time where it has to come to a logical end. And a couple of things that, even VC spoke in his speech. I don't know, you mentioned something like profitability. I didn't understand that word as startup. Right, so I'll not bore you with this data. I think all of us probably in this room are smart enough to know how the overall digital ecosystem in India have grown, thanks to Jio and the likes of others. But the number of internet users, the data consumption, the number of smartphones in the country, right, and overall how India has become a destination for good capital inflow, that has really been instrumental in driving the startup story as well. So I personally joined CFO of Ola in 2013 and made my first angel investment in 2015. Right, so I've been angel investing for 7 years, but trust me, I think when I joined in 2013, startup ecosystem used to be only about Flipkart, Snapdeal and Ola. There were some smaller startups and all, but hardly there was any understanding about, seed round and runway and Series A, Series B. So I think the way ecosystem has developed in last 5 years, to be precise, it's just amazing. I think it's the best time to be a founder right now. If you have a good idea, if you have, the courage to kind of start on your own, I think the ecosystem is there to support you with capital and a lot of other things. Right? Again, I think some of these charts, but the way 2021 probably was the best year that the ecosystem has ever seen. The amount of funding rounds that we have seen around, the number of unicorns, that have been converted in the country. I think one data point says that till 2021 we had about 40 odd unicorn. And in 2021 alone itself, we created another 40 unicorns, right? And that was the strength of the capital flow that we saw during the year, which created these unicorns. And I think India currently ranks number 3rd in the unicorn race and all. But more than unicorn, what gives me courage or what gives me confidence about the overall ecosystem is the way early stage ecosystem is also developing, like I just said. In terms of not only the financial help, but also in terms of mentoring, in terms of the number of incubators, accelerators, right, who are helping the young founders and the startups at the young age. That speaks a lot about it, right? So I think this one data point at the bottom where Flipkart became unicorn in 6 years, likes of Swiggy, CoinDCX, Rivigo, BharatPe become unicorn in 4 years, Apna and Cred became unicorn in 3 years, and finally we had Mensa, which actually become unicorn in 6 months, right? Now, I'm not hinting that businesses are getting stronger and stronger, but this just speaks about how, startup ecosystem has been attracting some good capital flow. Right. Again, I just spoke about how 2021 has been about. You see all these, the bar diagram, and suddenly you see a large green diagram in 2021, which speaks about the number of capital flowing into the ecosystem. Right, but I think what has changed now in 2022, right? If you see the inflow, especially since March onwards, like something happened post March, and suddenly now in last 3 months we are all talking about funding winter and how funding for startups have been drying down, how funds have become more cautious, how everybody is now talking about, instead of a GMV multiple, from a GMV multiple, now it has come down to a revenue multiple, and from revenue multiple now it's going to a profit multiple, right? Where startups are also expected to kind of at least create some profit or show paths to profit and conserve cash flow and all. So I think the number of deals that have been happening, in terms of the funding and all, has been on the decline. We have been talking about a lot of layoffs as well. We have been reading in the newspapers, we have been seeing in the news that how some of these startups, some of the large ones, have been laying off, and without naming, one of the large unicorn, how things are stuck where audit is not done, and a lot of other stuff around those. So there are some sort of negative signals or some sort of skepticism which was always around the corner for this sort of growth. But I think, in the euphoria of funding, it kind of got lost somewhere. And in 2022, now it's getting resurfaced. So there are talks about a very, very strong headwinds, and that's what we call funding winter, where it's becoming difficult for startups to raise funding as compared to last year. But does the funding winter really exist? That's something that I'm going to kind of throw light on. There are multiple factors causing this slowdown, which is slowdown in global markets. As we all know, how the mature markets like US and others have been behaving now. Tech stocks have taken a royal beating over there. In India itself, the current listings that we have seen of the large players, there have been a massive discount to the price at which they were offered. Now, this is all a function of, is it higher valuation? Is it untenable valuation, I should say? Or is it the downturn, economic downturn? That's anybody guess, but I think multiple factors, geopolitical tensions also, we all know about Russia-Ukraine situation, rising global interest rate, inflation, and bearish public markets. Right. But I think what we always preach to our investors as well, today at IPV, we have 7,000 plus investors on our platform, of which about 1,000 plus are part of the Angel AIF also, and as we launch the fund, there are also some good marquee HNIs, NRIs, and global funds and all. Typically, we always advise that I think today is the best time to invest. Now, it sounds contradictory, but when in the bear markets, I'm talking about investing more. But if you see the overall history, how some of the large unicorns or some of the large entities have been created during the slowdown. So these are some of the examples. So economic downturn of 1970s, which was between 1973 to 75, Microsoft was founded. Apple was founded in 1975 again. The dot-com crash of 2000 to 2002, which was again a worst period by public imagination or by statisticians, right? But entities like SpaceX, Google, Baidu, MySQL and all, they raised good amount of funding or their Series A and all during these time, and where they are today, we all know, right? And the great financial crisis of 2007, 2008. Now look at the names, those were actually born during this crisis period. Airbnb, Zynga, WhatsApp, Asana, Square, Evernote, Uber, Business Insider, Dropbox, Slack, and there are many more. I've just chosen some of the few examples. Point is, I think as an investor, today it gives an opportunity to have a proper discussion with the founder where I'm not worried about his valuation ask. 2021, every founder will come with 2 term sheet and saying that I'm pre-product, pre-revenue, but I've got a term sheet of 20 million. Now either you take it or I walk away, right? And that was the situation. The market is now turning into an investor market. For us as angel investor, this is the opportunity to identify some really great founding teams, some really great businesses who are coming in at normal valuation, which are coming in at a valuation which are explainable, which are probably something that we can take bets on. And that's why, any sort of such sort of calamity, as we call, is always a good time for us as investor to look at, right? So again, I'll not go into this slide, but some of the points are investment opportunity in great startups at decent valuation, which I just spoke about. Late stage startups will be willing to raise survival and growth capital from angels. how many late stage startups right now we see coming on for again angel funding, coming on for funding from micro VCs, angel investment groups. Now this is growth and survival capital. A lot of them have probably filed DRHP or going for listing or thinking of going for listing, but obviously markets are not supportive right now where they'll have to push their plans. Now this is an opportunity for investors like us to actually look at and invest into some of them. I will not say we need to invest in all of them. Again, valuation is something which is a very subjective criteria and we need to kind of assess it from startup to startup. But at the same time, I think this is a great opportunity where at least angel investors like us who are cutting small size checks will be able to even consider investing into some of these great stories. Resilient startups, matrix-focused VC investment, focus to shift from growth to profitability. Founders to use cash more efficiently. I think this is one of the change which is the best development that have happened. I think people have started valuing cash, respect cash more. Till last year, and I'm not kidding, I think VCs were pushing founders saying that, okay, you're not burning enough. I think you're not dynamic enough. So the dynamism, the definition of dynamism was how much of cash burn that you are able to drive and how much growth you are able to buy against that. So this was like a paid marketing. Everybody used to run after customer acquisition. Now, one fundamental question which nobody was asking is that how are you able to retain your customer? It's very easy for me to spend money, give discount and acquire a customer, but the same customer will only come back and my cohorts will be stronger when I'm able to provide a good quality product or a good quality service. Now, these are the basic fundamental rule which actually we as VCs were also responsible for not driving it because it was a crazy market and everybody just wanted to get into that euphoria and make the most of it. Weeding out subpar startups and founders from the market. So good startups are still able to raise funds. A good thing about this development is that this is good for some good quality startups. How? Because good quality startups are still able to raise funds. We see some of these quality startups are still able to drive their Series A, Series B, Series C also, while late stage investment has generally become difficult. Market for hiring good people is also kind of coming to a sanity. Gone are the days when techies were offered a bike and a tour to Dubai for World Cup when they were to join a company, right? Now this is a more realistic market where you're able to hire some good talent because market is coming to an equilibrium and ultimately with this layoffs also, I think it's some sort of a balance which is now prevailing. And that's helping some of these good quality startup. Consolidation is happening. Otherwise, it was becoming a capital war. When in a sector, if there are 7 or 8 players are getting funding from VCs and all, then it becomes like a capital play where everybody will try to throw in more and more capital and win over the customer or win over the market share. But one thing that I have learned in my career is that money can help you fix problem. It can never help you solve problem, right? So while it is still okay to kind of start with a business where it's not immediately about monetization, you don't focus on profitably right from day one. But at least there has to be a path to profitability. And these are the businesses that we love at IPV, where the founder is aware that, I'm not making money right now or I'm not looking at revenue right now. I'll consolidate, but at some point in time, right, my bank account should have more customer money than investor money, right? It's that smell of customer money which is the most important thing than investor money. Unfortunately, founders take funding not as a milestone in a journey, but founders take funding as the success itself, right? It's not about valuation, it's about value creation. And that's something which is the fundamental rule. Cool. Now this slide, I'm sure you must all be reading in again Economic Times and other papers and media. But even during this crisis, when we are speaking about funding winter, look at the amount of capital some of the large VCs are sitting on, right? And this is what we define as dry powder or gunpowder. Now these VCs have already raised this money from their LPs, which is waiting to be deployed. What I'm trying to tell is that it's not that this capital is available for free, but for good businesses and good founders, money will still be available, is available even today, right? It's just that valuation will become more tenable. Some difficult questions will be asked if you're a founder and if you're out there to raise funds. The due diligence processes will be a little longer, unlike last time where you can get 3 term sheets in a month. But capital definitely is available. So some of these bigger names, A91 Partners, Chirate, Sequoia, HealthCord, WaterBridge, Trifecta, even debt, there are so many venture debt funds that have emerged, right? So when we are talking about VC, venture capital is not only equity. We are talking about venture debt as well, where for your working capital needs, you don't need to dilute equity. You can have a venture debt also. And I'm really pleased the way the debt ecosystem is also developing, where there are innovative debt structures also. It's not only the plain, simple, vanilla term loan or working capital. You have now RBF. What is RBF? Revenue-based financing companies, which are also emerging, which are helping some of the early stage platforms as well. Right. So I think this is more like, is it a crunch or correction? I think international VC is also launching India-focused funds. So India still remain to be a priority market for a lot of these international VCs also. There is slowdown in Southeast Asia as well. There is slowdown in China as well, a bigger one than us. There is definitely some nervousness in US as well. And India as an economy right now, with the dollar rate also, I think it's now becoming like an attractive destination for a lot of foreign funds also to deploy money over here and get the startups at some amazing mouth-watering valuations. So in terms of overall economy indicators, all the metrics are going in the right direction. As a country, I don't know, I don't think anybody will have any question about the fundamental of the economy. Now, when we are talking about investments or startup ecosystem, it cannot be completely deviated or be aloof from the overall economic condition. And that's where I think some of the major macroeconomic indicators, of course, apart from inflation, still continue to kind of trend well. And in general, our sense is that probably this so-called funding winter or so-called nervousness in the market should be a good opportunity for next 6 to 9 months, till up to, let's say, next March, or about 12 months, while things will be correct and things will be back to probably normalcy. But this is the time to kind of, make the most of it, as Warren Buffett again says that be greedy when everybody else is fearful, and be fearful when everybody else is greedy, right? So I think this is the time to be greedy in good sense of words rather than being fearful. Cool. So I think we have also seen similar sort of scenarios at IPV. Out of 23 startups that we invested between Jan to September 2020, which is the COVID period, as you all know, 50% of the startups have given exits or partial exits at an average IRR of 135%. So these are the real numbers that we have been able to deliver. And 13% of the startups have gone through up rounds at an average IRR of 124%. And you'll know some of these names like Fable, which is a large name in health tech ecosystem, VideoVerse, which was earlier called Torch, it's into AI, BlueSmart, cab operator, Samosa Party, OTP. So some of these well-known names have been born, or we have invested into them during the crunch time of COVID itself. Great. Finally, so, stay young, learning never stops. That is the thing that keeps me driving also. I think it's the fun, and it's that energy of meeting young founders, understanding from them the way they look at business. I mean, I always say this, I'm a CA of 2001 batch, and when I joined Ola in 2013, I think there's a lot of unlearning that we all need to do first. There are so many other concepts that are deep, deep rooted in our mind, that we need to change that and understand. Every day the world teaches something new. These founders, these young founders, whether we fund them or not, that's a different thing. But there is so much to learn from every person that you meet, and that kind of keeps me going in this VC world. So we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. I think that's the mantra that we leave with. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Karthik is. Hey, Archana. Good evening, everybody. I think there are more number of people who have come. So it's getting interesting. We have heard about Karthik starting and talking about motivation, and motivation comes from Starting talked about liquids, and then you talked about liquids, and then you talked about liquidity. So we are still staying a little bit liquid, but I think I will take it. I think, it's time to talk about a little bit about CFO Bridge. So I'm going to talk about CFO Bridge and what is it that, we are doing and where we are heading to. And so it started with a very unconventional decision I'm glad that Sandeep Ghosh is here, my boss, on the date when I quit and started CFO Bridge. So it started on 31st July 2012, actually, to be precise. And then, so many people have gone on to encourage this, because this is the most difficult one, which is, sorry, let me go back. Yeah. So this, quitting this SMS is a dopamine, right? It just happens every month, that your salary is credited every month, right? And then it just keeps you going. And quitting this is a very difficult one. And, I'm glad that, Sandeep is here and he made it sound a little bit easy for me. But we did this. And then I realized that it is not just me. It's 30 more guys who have joined the movement as of today. So it's just not possible just to create what is CFO Bridge as a platform. It's got co-created. It's just an idea, but then idea was kind of a spark. Spark became a light. Actually, it's only possible by 30 more guys joining. And then the interesting fact is, I do not know any one of them. Everyone I got to know only through LinkedIn. It is a fact. Nobody has worked with me, like typical startups. You got people who worked with me in the previous company. I do know them, or they are from the same village, they have the same gotra, nothing. I don't know anyone. And everyone came via LinkedIn. So we are a being of just the LinkedIn. And we believe that we have not just built a company, we have actually established a new category called shared service CFO. And this is the evidence. This is taken recently. And I will give you more evidence. Today there are quite a lot of entities which are practicing shared CFO as, this is the actual data of Google search. And it was kind of 1.7x till about before the start of the pandemic. And this is what has happened in the pandemic. This is actual data. And the growth in just the search volume and people looking for, one is CFO Bridge data, which is the blue color, and the green color is the shared service CFO data. So the category itself is growing at the rate of 3x. So this is something that we are immensely proud of, that we are not just leaders in our own set of business, we are also leading the category. And then what built us, right? I mean, an idea and some people, building, you need some ingredients, software ingredients. And what built us where we are, one is focus, sharp focus, and that just came. I mean, I will actually credit the clients also co-created it. I would say the co-creation was possible because we had some superb clients like Akhilesh, VC Karthik, and Suryodaya Bank, Bhaskar. Bhaskar will head here. He has gone to celebrate 5 years of FinCare Bank, so he's coming in here. Suryodaya was our first client, and I mean it is kind of Suryodaya for us as well. And so very focused on SMEs. Kuch hilna nahi hai. Very clear focused on SMEs and startup. Our SME in the S stands for startup, ME stands for mid-size enterprises. And we did not, kuch hilai nahi hai, we focused only on that as our client sector. And then positive difference. We just said, our tagline is to leave a positive difference. A residue of positive difference has to be left in any interaction, be it a 5 minutes phone call or a meeting. We just said we have to have a positive difference, and that's our tagline. And then the culture. A culture is, I actually sat in several boards and I fed strategy to culture for breakfast, lunch and dinner all the time. But when it came to us, we didn't understand what exactly is culture. For quite some time, we were kind of cultureless guys for a long time. And we actually realized that, it's not appropriate. You have to define your culture. We went ahead and defined our culture. We did a lot of work, and culture is not a document. Culture was not the talk, culture was walk. So we prepared a document. I'll give you a glimpse of that. That's what has created. And then within the culture, freedom, absolute freedom for the partners to do freedom within a framework. There is a framework, but there is immense freedom for them to do it, and no hierarchy. There is nobody is nobody's boss. And when a new partner joined about 6 months back, he asked me, "What's your hierarchy? Who reports to who?" I said, "Nobody reports to nobody." How can you create an organization where nobody reports to nobody? And that's actually brilliant. I mean, we are a very unconventional organization. I requested on unconventional things another close friend and a client of ours, Harish Chopra, to talk. I'm not sure whether Harish is here, but I will give you some glimpse of what exactly unconvention means. So absolutely no hierarchy. We allowed people to pursue their passion. And then on top of that, this is the most important lesson, right? That what we learned. You can only build a company if you are willing to share. Originally, CFO Bridge still survives as a sole proprietary. There is a small business that is still running in sole proprietary. Then we became a partnership. Now we are a privately limited company. But we went through the whole 9 yards. We got 3 GST numbers and all those kind of things. But what was very important is we have to share. We realized that we have to share. We have to share equity, share control, share profits. And today, I am very proud to say, I can actually step aside. CFO Bridge will run. There is a council of partners who can run CFO Bridge, and they are absolutely capable and competent to run CFO Bridge. And that, I worked tirelessly in making myself redundant, and that's, I think, it's now a platform which can carry on the message and this thing. So that's what has actually helped us build it. And our vision to be the preferred institution for SMEs and startups is to strengthen their overall financial governance and be a platform for finance professionals. So we defined both sides, the supply side and the demand side. So that's our vision. And then our core passion, this defines the culture. So service we put on first, serving clients. And then serving people, interact, involve, and build. I mean, every word was actually thought through. And then adding value. I mean, we work with SMEs, so we understand adding value. What I realized is every invoice that is getting paid is my performance appraisal. So we know that we are absolutely, when you are in a salary situation, your performance appraisal comes only once in a year. Here, every month is a performance appraisal. We have to add value, and if we are taking our eyes off it, we are in danger. So we know that adding value is very important. And create a positive difference, I talked about that. And then building something new all the time, right? It is very important to keep this. And then giving back, givers get. And that became the primary, there is a concept of a karma kitchen in California, where your dinner or your lunch is paid for by the previous guy who had food. So we wanted to create a karma kitchen where there is someone else who is creating something else. The next generation gets the benefit from this. So can we have givers get as a very big value point, and then we had it, and mentoring each one teach one is another culture point. So this culture is what has helped us to come forward. And then we got the culture, we got the idea, we got everything else, but we need to understand then, we need to build it as a sustainable platform. So we built it as a sustainable platform, balancing all 3 stakeholders. Now here is the first one which we have got, the partners. I would say CFO Bridge is probably the only entity probably anywhere in the world where cost of acquiring and retaining talent is 0. We actually get talent. I mean, we have got a large pipeline of talent which just keeps coming because of our impeccable ability to attract talent and continue to retain talent. And many of our partners have been with us for years now. Attracting senior finance talent and making them work for SMEs, and need not follow template or work life, because what I realized is you join an MNC and MNC says that I need to recruit the most intelligent guy or the most smart guy, but as soon as he joins, he is given a booklet saying that this is my template, please work according to our template. These are our global standards. But you got the intelligent guy and you give him global standards. Now we have taken it all away. He said that you work according to your standards. You define your global standards. You work according to your standards. Talent values freedom to make difference. And no hierarchy, be your own boss, work from anywhere. So these are the stuff. So this is about the talent, not necessarily partners, all the stuff. Everybody follows the same thing. And the second thing is the clients. We have to add value to the client. We built every component that we needed. I will talk about all the components that we have got. A single one-stop shop for the clients. And assured quality. Quality assurance is not something that we focused early on, but later on we realized that we need to have quality assurance. We created a quality assurance team. And then right fit economics. Once again, we realized that, when we are dealing with the SMEs, if I don't give him value for money, I have no business. And that is the basis on which we have scaled up over the last 10 years. And then ensured continuity. It's very important because they don't want to deal with, they are dealing with an organization. And if A goes away, and then we are able to give them B. And then do that. And then the platform. Okay, CFO Bridge as well as a platform. And marrying the client need to the right fit skill set is very important. Bringing people together to collaborate. Just imagine bringing 30 CFOs and you are very strong guys, 20-25 years, they have worked on their own, very senior guys, making them collaborate with each other, making them see that there is a need to collaborate. Right now, I am able to see there are many assignments where there are 2 CFOs are working together. So it is really very interesting to see that there is a collaboration that is happening. And democratizing the knowledge. We have created an internal knowledge management portal which captures the experience, knowledge, templates and everything else, and is made available to the partners so that they don't need to the wheel necessarily need not be reinvented. So which we believe this is future of work. What CFO Bridge as a platform is how the future of work is going to evolve. And that's what has created the platform. And then broad spectrum of services, retainer CFO services, this is what we started. We have got transaction advisory services. We have got Nitin Jain. Nitin, are you here? Yeah, Nitin Jain is heading our investment banking and transaction advisory services. And tax advisory and structuring, we have got Sudhakar, ex-Deloitte, and Sudhakar is here from tax advisory services. And then we have got CFO recruitment. We started that. Now we are able to recruit. We are doing everything else. So we might as well recruit CFOs and give it to them. So we have got CFO recruitment as a service. Ramki is heading it, and Ramki is working with these 2 guys already. And investor relations, right? You got everything else. And investor relation for listed companies. Ramki is heading that once again. And then investment banking, which is fundraising, particularly Nitin Jain is working on it. Technology for finance. We have got Subbu. Subbu joined us from HCL Technologies. So he is heading the technology side for finance, particularly things like business finance and those very specific areas that is required for tech companies. And then, I talked about business finance and debt syndication. We have got Deepak Maheshwari. Deepak, are you here? Deepak Maheshwari heads debt syndication for us. And then SME IPO, listing SME IPO is another major initiative that we took off because the SME market for IPO has actually matured, and we are very glad to see Hem Securities, which is our collaborating partners. We got Nikhil Tekwani and Prachi Gia from Hem. Hem is the one entity that we have tied up with, and this initiative is headed by Hemant Tanvi and Subhranshu Sarkar. Both of them are there. And so SME IPO is one. And then we got everything else and doing finance training. So initial seed was laid by Gautam Kapadi. Now taking it to the next level, how do we get financial controllers to become CFOs, and how do we get CFOs to become business partners? I don't think even Harvard has figured it out. We are figuring it out, and it's not academic, because we are going to give practical tips there. So once again, Ramki is working with a couple of Wharton guys and also with CFO Connect to figure out how exactly we can start training CFOs to the next level. So all these ingredients, some of them are already strong businesses providing revenue and profits. Some of them are emerging horizons. So together is how we have built CFO Bridge to be a very strong entity. And this is where, just to give you a glimpse of saying where all our partners came from. All our partners came from every big company that you can imagine. And CFO Bridge today, so far we have done 500 plus clients and 100 active clients as of day, and about 30 people. We believe that we would like to be the McKinsey for the SMEs, because that spot is absolutely vacant and it is going to remain vacant for a long time. And we will take that with the broad spectrum of services, and this is where we want to head to. Thank you very much. I will come back again to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Shini. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ramkrishnan Subramanian. People call me Ramki, partner at CFO Bridge. I'm here to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Akhilesh Bhargav. Akhilesh Bhargav is an MBA from Mumbai University and an alumnus of INSEAD Paris. He is currently enrolled in the OPM program at Harvard. He is an investor, mentor, advisor, and a friend to over 10 startup entrepreneurs working in waste, social impact, and organic lifestyle companies. He has over 25 years of experience as an entrepreneur, spearheading AVA Global Plast, a leading brand in recycled rPET packaging of consumer goods, food, fruits and vegetables, garments, and industrial goods. Akhilesh loves manufacturing, packaging, recycling, plastic pollution, and working with entrepreneurs in diverse industries. Akhilesh is also a director at Date with Ocean Foundation, which is taking ground action on reducing marine litter and behavior change of citizens. As an environment, ocean lover, and entrepreneur, he's been working alongside Champion of the Earth recipient Afroz Shah on the ground and involved in cleaning ocean-borne plastic, foreign-based plastic, and from other eco-sensitive zones. He is passionate about reducing plastic pollution, building a legacy which will inspire other entrepreneurs and packaging companies. With that, I welcome Akhilesh. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can put your hands for Akhilesh, please.
Thanks, Ramki. Sorry, that was loud. So, Srini, as you know, I was hearing your journey. It was like sounding like it's so much of my company. I think ever since I made up my mind that I need to break up. I need to get into understanding how finance works and how to see numbers on a regular monthly P&L basis. I think that's how I started my journey, and it's so admirable to see how CFO Bridge has evolved over the years. So I'm going to, when Srini reached out to me and he said that, why don't you talk? I was wondering, like, what is that I could talk? It's like everybody's journey, probably every entrepreneur who's gone through ups and downs, etc. But probably what I tried to do this time is something different. I said that let me try and share a journey where I will share my failures, and more importantly, some of those failures that when I was taking decisions which led me to failure, what was that emotional state of mind I was in and which led me to those decisions. And I started my consciousness journey 2 years back, and which gave me that opportunity to actually reflect back to all my failures and try and see, what was my conditioning from my early childhood days, and what happened over the period of years and how it led me to take decisions where I failed. So I thought that why not try and break that up. It's the first time I'm trying, talking about this on a forum. I talk about this otherwise very, very openly. But I said that maybe that's something which may be a little different. Maybe it may help someone, or maybe just some learnings for me as well. So I'm as a person, I'm an extremely impulsive person. I can be in a happy, exuberant moment, or I can be in a moment where I'm in a hurry to do something, or I'm driven by a fear, or I'm driven by some kind of eagerness to make a quick buck, and then I end up taking those decisions which have had impact. So I'll probably start from a little in my early childhood days, where, you know, I'll take it back to when I was just in grade 5. I came third in our school. When you come in the first, second, third, you're able to go up on the stage. Now that was the only time I went up on stage in my life. Whereas I was looking at my sister who used to go up every year 5 times. So I was like, shit, man. And then I was so thrilled. I was like, now I have made it. So in that whole excitement of, like, you know, the final exams are there, I get the 3rd rank, I go on the stage, my mom came and she's like clapping, etc. and shabashi mili. Grade 6, Marathi, failed. And I was like, you know, now looking back I can say all this, and I was like, I was all over the place. I was like, now success is just going to come. You know, I don't need to work for success. Like that is what at that time I was thinking, and I went so easy, I didn't care. Like Marathi was not something which didn't come easy to me, and I didn't care to study for it. I thought, pass to ho hi jayenge. That continued, you know, and that kind of hit me very badly at that point of time. And I'm just reflecting back and I'm sharing my reflections. And I look back and I realized that, you know, it kind of started getting me feel very conscious about how you know, suddenly people started saying, "Arey yaar, ye to fail ho gaya." You know, I didn't want to, I just wanted to hide at that point of time from a lot of people. But it started getting me, you know, I just started feeling very intimidated. I used to feel all the time people are thinking about me and they are going to look at me and laugh. And they are going to be like, ye dekho failure hai. I stopped meeting people eye to eye. But I was a very happy-go-lucky child. I had a happy family. So I used to just go play. But, you know, I was, suddenly when there would be someone who's smarter in the room, koi class mein first aata hai, someone who's anything better than me, I used to start feeling intimidated. So I started, you know, in a way, cocooning myself. Because then, and also because I was becoming like that, people started, my peers, my friends started bullying me. So I went through that whole series of being bullied for a certain number of years. What that made me do was, I started emotionally getting numb. I said, let me cocoon myself. I'm not going to care about what people talk about me. I'm just going to be me, and I don't care. But I will prove myself at some point of time. Effectively, what happened was, in this bargain, I was like, I used to hear from one ear, and it would go out of the other ear. So I lived a great life for a lot of years, because it didn't matter what people spoke about me, right? I was just my own Raja. But where I had to be also sensitive, I stopped being sensitive. Where I had to say a no to some things, to people, to my own kids, to people in family, I just didn't say a no. I was like, everything goes, and I had stopped even seeing because I was numb. The other thing what happened was that as I started, you know, wanting to come back, that whole, you know, wanting that need to prove myself, need for acknowledgement from people, need for just getting recognized, started becoming the center of me taking a lot of life choices. I'll share my other failures and that will come forward there. So going forward, I was like, you know, I finished my education. I was just always a very average student. I did my MBA from MET. And that time around, you know, we were seeing Reliance grow. So this was like going back to 1997. And I was like, you know, I wanted to see, you know, Dhirubhai Ambani was super inspiring to a lot of us here at that time and maybe even today. But I was like, okay, we have to do something big, you know, chota nahi karna hai. And when it became ki chota nahi karna hai, but where it was being driven by, there is a need to prove. There's a need for acknowledgement. मेरे को दिखा देना है लोगों को. So I started trying करके दिखा दूँगा. So, but then one thing good happened was I told myself that why not just do something at your own business and, you know, कुछ करके दिखाओ फिर आगे. So just by the scale, because it was listed 100 crores of business, so I got obsessed with the fact कि 100 crores, because that time 100 crores was like, अरे देखो यार इसका 100 करोड़ का business है. So I was like, अभी मेरे को 100 करोड़ का business बनाना है. And then I said, हाँ ठीक है कर लेते हैं. And वो जुनून आ गया, like 2010 fast forward, we were a 100 crore company. In the journey, I was like still wanting to experiment. Again, no clarity on purpose, but driven by the emotions which I was sharing about. So I invested in Fire and Ice nightclub. Just out of random, like doing, I mean, just because if you are invested in a nightclub and you go to a party, people will say, wow, ये देख nightclub में invest किया हुआ है. So that was my purpose. In 2005, I was like, so somehow, I mean, maybe being from an entrepreneur's family, risk came naturally to me, but I never questioned why I wanted to, what I wanted to do. In 2005, I almost died in the floods. And why did I get into that situation? So I'm going to talk about the where I landed up. So I was very much happy. You know, our office is at near Sakinaga, and I was going home with 3 other people from my from the family, and we were crossing intercontinental, and it was like we just went in there. We said water is bad, and we got a room. Suddenly it struck me ki why not go out and have some adventure? Why? No, nothing. And I stepped out, walk to Sakinaka, and then stupidly to find my cousin, who's the smartest in my family, which you don't need to think about, who was already in a safe place. And I get stuck and I almost died. I was just reflecting back on what I was thinking at that point of time. And it was that whole excitement and, you know, that adventure ka feeling chahiye. Not ignoring, again, I'm just focusing on the emotion. I chose to ignore all rational logic, knowing what was happening outside, rather than just choosing to stay safe. And it was just miraculous that I just got saved also, I think. We reached 100 crores of sale. I didn't find any happiness. I was like, okay, ho gaya, but khushi kyun nahi ho rahi hai? And then looking back, I realized that I was just driven by the number obsession. मुझे तो 100 करोड़ खाली नाम के लिए चाहिए थे. मुझे 100 करोड़ से कोई लगाव नहीं था. Then what happened was, when we went in to build 100 crores, we didn't build operational excellence. हमने ground reality ठीक से नहीं की. Around that was the same time when I met my friend VC and my other friends in the Ascent cohort. And I'm like seeing these guys build businesses. First time I saw Bhaskar's MIS, I was like blown. It's like ऐसे company चलती है. And तभी I was say he was doing PhD and I was in first standard. And I was like, and then I started, and then also I didn't realize that why did this happen to me. In the same year, we were in that one business which we had invested in. It's a packaging film in PVC for pharmaceuticals. And it just went down. We lost 30% of our business to competition, to alternate materials, and we were down 30% of the business. Our top line had reached 150 crores, I think, around then, but profits were like 1 crore or minus. In fact, honestly, I didn't even know. It was only when CFO Bridge came in, I started knowing what is happening. And then month on month, we started seeing things. But I was still troubled as to why. Then I was like, okay, now this is not looking good. Then also I tried to sell my company. So we got Yes Bank as an investment banker. But I was so frustrated at that point of time, because to do all that growth, we had built leverage. We didn't build a bottom line. We just managed a top line. We didn't build a team. So it was this whole tricky situation, and I was just clueless. I didn't have too many people to talk to. My trust group was there, but they were all struggling. Sabki lagi hui thi. But again, going forward, went ahead and did some round of expansions. because I just wanted to just create something and exit the business. I didn't think of building succession. I didn't think of, at that time, building key, you need to build hardcore operations on the ground. I was just obsessed with top line, bada banna hai. And then because of lack of, and then that whole thing of being emotionally numb, I didn't tell people no, or I didn't put my foot down on things with people, with my own reportees, which I should have. So I was accepting mediocrity, I was accepting inefficiencies, which led to a fire at my plant in 2016. And it just gave us a major setback. We were just, and I was at that time completely leveraged. Personally, in the business, I think everything which could go wrong was going wrong at that point of time, and then the fire happened. We luckily managed to, and the reason it happened was, again, it was our maintenance head at that point of time. The whole attitude was chalta hai. And I used to live in fear. I was so driven by fear of losing people, fear of not making money, etc., that it just kept me stopping me from taking hard decisions. But when it would come to risk, I would say ki I have to take the risk and I can just jump into this risk. So without thinking of these rationals why, I used to keep making decisions and jumping into them. Luckily, things started falling in place, and it was just before, in 2013-14, I did INSEAD, a year's leadership program. It started giving me some insights about a lot of things, which started helping me work on things in a smaller way. In 2016, I met Afroz, and I joined. I said this, I have to continuously do things beyond myself. I got into this because it used to make me go through guilt, and because I was not clear on my purpose, I was like, I'm in plastics and packaging, and look what's happening to the world, I used to get into self-blame, hold myself accountable, and which made me even push me to even actually figure out my own purpose for the business. Then around going a little forward, things started coming in place. We started turning around things. We started doing well. I think we just started building a very robust business along. And then I started my consciousness journey. And I'm able to now look back and reflect back as to what I was thinking when I made all these, because it was killing me. I was like, okay, I'm doing well. How does it guarantee me not to run into the same shit? And then that is when, over the period, in the last 2 years, just picking on, and I think what I've just tried to do over this small chat is to try and put together a summary of what I was thinking during those moments. And I've just taken some of the bigger moments, and as to made those decisions which led me to failure. And I think that's a little synopsis of my journey. I just believed in learning, so I'm doing the OPM program at Harvard. And yeah, I think I'm all over the place. I'm working with over 10 startups. It helps me learn, and yeah, so that's my little journey. And I thought I just wanted to make it different in a different way. Thank you.
Yeah, let me introduce Mr. C.N. Ram. In a career spanning almost 40 years, C.N. Ram spent almost most of his time in the financial services, helming the technology function in the two banks, Bank of America and HDFC Bank. As a head of IT at the start, of HDFC Bank. He was responsible for putting up the blueprint for the various systems to support business, which is corporate, retail, treasury, payments, and staffing the functions for growth by designing new products and for their sustenance. Most recently, he is an advisor for Warburg Pincus, and for the last 6 years, he has been working with companies in many industry segments, be it financial services, retail, logistics, real estate, hospitality, and technology in the SaaS area. Recently, he promoted Fin DNA with a vision to build a suite of modern, scalable, secure, and fully digital cloud-native software and systems complete with all interfaces. He is the MD and CEO of Fin DNA. Put your hands together to introduce Mr. C.N. Ram.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. You can see that I'm dressed differently. I look different from the previous speakers with enough reason. And I have to say that I really enjoyed the previous presentations. And one of the things that struck me when Akhilesh was presenting, unfortunately I was looking at his shoes. And I have to say that it took me back to my IIT days. We were watching a movie. This must have been at least 35, 40 years back. I'm as old as I look. The movie was titled The Tall Blonde Man with One Black Shoe. The blonde was missing, but if you get a chance, you should watch the film. It's a great entertainer. So first of all, thank you, Srini and CFO Bridge for having me here. I'm going to be a little different from all the folks who talked about either personal experience or finance. I'm very, very focused on technology. So you want to hear only technology stuff from me, unfortunately. I'm not going to teach you technology. You better get a better guy for it. But I'll tell you what my experience has been using technology in the variety of industries that I've had the privilege to work with. When I was introduced, so I was, you were told that I have been with the financial services industry for 26 years, 12 years with Bank of America and 14 with HDFC Bank. And we have had the privilege of using technology for growth in multiple growth areas within the bank. So you can see how the banking over decades has changed from where banks used to manufacture, sell, and service their own products to what is happening now when you talk about everybody else manufacturing products, which finally ends up with the bank only to be a debit or a credit in the account. So banking has had to change, it had to transform, and the technology platforms had to adapt. And then you throw in a slew of regulations, you throw in a slew of security and privacy and all those kind of considerations. And then it's a very heady combination which keeps the technology guys on their toes, customers on their toes, when the systems do fail, as they do. This morning, for instance, Microsoft Teams had a problem. So we had to actually, I was in a board meeting and we had to change the service provider to somebody else because we couldn't continue on Teams. So it happens. And your ability to be resilient and to overcome all these becomes very important. Also, we are at an age where I think there is quite a lot of information available, and I have to, there is a meme which talks about how you can get technology advice from a variety of sources, Google being the foremost, right? So this was in a doctor's. So if you listen to me, then there is a charge. But if you want to also clarify this with Google, then there's going to be a different charge. So over a period of time, there has been a overload of information, whether it is coming from Google, Dr. Google, whatever you want to call it, or social media. I think there has been a huge amount of information which is available for you. And then, of course, there is WhatsApp University, right? It's almost like anything which comes on WhatsApp is gospel truth. People believe it, people want to follow it, and then they fall into bad ways. So in this kind of a environment, it's very difficult to actually preach technology because you have access to a whole lot of technologies. So rather than talk about very specific technologies which are applicable for SMEs, I'll talk in general about what all you should be looking for. And in the last 7 years, I've been working with a whole host of SMEs before setting up my own S in the last year. And it has been a very, very enlightening journey. The kind of stuff that people want to look for and what they don't look for and they don't end up doing is what I'm going to highlight. And that is something which will probably be helpful in terms of when you're talking about how you should approach your SME requirement from a technology perspective. So I won't talk about finances. There are enough people to fund you. Regardless of what Mitesh said about funding winter, there's a lot of money. He also put up a slide which talked about a whole lot of money being available. It just means that you have to have a cogent business proposition, and then there are enough people who will be willing to fund you. Before I forget, I want to wish Srini and your merry band on your 10th anniversary. I think it's a phenomenal achievement, and as you go beyond a certain age, I mean, for youngsters, 10 years is nothing, right? For people like me, 10 years is a huge achievement at my stage in life. So I think best wishes are in order, and may you grow, may you prosper, and more importantly, may you be of service to the segments that you have chosen to. And I'll give you some uncalled for advice about what all you can do to expand your services. When we look at technology these days, speed is of the essence. So when people are going to do a mad scramble and bid for the 5G airwaves and spend thousands of crores of borrowed money, banks are going to laugh all the way to the banks. The important thing to understand is that people's reaction time is getting smaller and smaller. Youngsters like you, many of you, want instant gratification. I mean, what we used to dream about, saying that if I can do a transaction, let's say I go to a bank and withdraw money, within a couple of hours, I should be very happy in those days, because you had to find parking, you had to stand in the line, and then the teller, hopefully she was in a good mood, otherwise the shutters will be down. So all kinds of things, right? Now, everything happens at the blink of an eyelid. And it doesn't matter which part of the geography you're in. You could be in Timbuktu, you could be in Tirunelveli, it doesn't matter. You finish your transaction and on, that's it. You don't even wait for the transaction to be completed. These days, there is a little bit of a risk in terms of you doing UPI. You have to wait for the transaction to be completed and the app to tell you it's done. Because the systems which were built in those days did not envisage digital transactions at digital lightning speed of what is happening today. So all of you, whether you are in the manufacturing business or in the service business, you're going to be up against it in terms of speed. You have to cater to your customers, you have to cater to your employees, and you have to cater to them in lightning speed. That is why technology is so interesting, because what it does is it gives us technologists a new lease of life. So I should be in retirement and oblivion, but I set up a new company. It's a great opportunity to indulge your passion, to also make sure that you collect around you, just like what CFO Bridge did, people who are equally passionate about technology and want to make a difference in the world. Again, like I told you, I'm going to look at it only from a technology lens. What I find with the SMEs, in most cases, is they are underinvested in technology, they are underinvested in technologists. The first part is easy to fix. The second part is getting difficult because the technologists are pricing themselves out of the market, unfortunately, today. So if you go try and shop around for a good technology person, you may not be able to afford it, which is a pity. But hopefully that situation will change. You will find more and more technology because, like they say, nature abhors a vacuum. And when you see people drawing so much of salary, then a whole lot of people will come in. And that will be the salvation for people like me, because we can't afford to pay the kind of salaries that we are doing now. Underinvested in technology, underinvested in technologists. What does this imply? It means that the kind of opportunities that you have, you won't be able to actually fulfill them. When you talk about agility, scalability, availability, you need technology platforms which actually enable you to do that. Because I haven't come across a single SME which says, I don't want to grow. I want to be just like this. I'll serve 5 customers and I'll be happy. It's never going to happen like that. Every SME wants to grow. The S wants to be an M, M wants to be an E. Right? I mean, this is what keeps the cycle of life moving. In order to do that, earlier, we didn't have to have too much attention being paid to the kind of technology you used. Because of the agility, you have no time to change. So you better think about the appropriate technology right at the time, knowing full well that you're going to grow. So you need to make those kind of investments with the right kind of perspective. Not many people talk about risk. I mean, you heard Akhilesh, factory burned down, stuff like that, right? To use some of the parlance that youngsters use, shit happens. And it'll probably happen to you when you least expect it. And despite all the advantages of the modern technologies, if you don't plan for it enough and if you don't sustain it enough, it's not going to be able to come and help you when you need it. For instance, your DR, your disaster recovery, your business continuity, those kind of planning. Many of the SMEs that I know, apart from investing in technologies, also underinvest in risk assessment. So people don't look at the risk. And customers these days are not loyal. They go to whoever gives them the best service. If you can't find something in Amazon, you go to Flipkart. If you can't find something in Flipkart, you go to Snapdeal. That's it, right? Loyalty is snapped because of convenience or availability. Now, how do you make yourself the best possible provider of the kind of services that the customer needs? It's all because of technology. Not only do you do the transaction fast, but you also accumulate knowledge about the customer and their preferences. Connectedness. We all need to be connected with the customer 24/7. You don't know when you'll wake up at what point in time in the night and say, crave for an ice cream. right? I mean, it doesn't happen to me. I'm talking about the youngsters, right? And most important, if you don't grow and if you're not profitable, how are you going to retain your staff? So staff morale is tied up very, very intimately with your ability to grow, your ability to prosper. And we talk about fickle customer loyalty. There is fickle employee loyalty as well. The usual stuff, compliance, privacy, there is a slew of regulations, unfortunately, which has been thrown at not just the E's, but the M's and the S's as well. So it doesn't matter what industry you are in, the regulator is going to come after you. GST compliance, sales tax compliance, things which happened 8 years back. There is nothing which prevents the regulator from actually coming after you. Therefore, your records have to be perfect. You don't want to waste any management cycle in accumulating reports to be presented to the regulator. What you want is, you always think that you are sitting on a volcano which is going to burst, and be prepared. You've heard of all this, right? Cloud, digitalization, outsourcing. We're talking about, I'll talk from the last. I mean, everybody knows cloud. I mean, all of you use Gmail, all of you use Yahoo, all of you use O365. So I think it's a huge business case has been already made. It's not because it is cheaper, but in the overall context, it is probably the cheaper option that you have instead of setting up your own data center, instead of hiring people, instead of worrying about power and breaches, internet security, and so on and so forth. Cloud is probably the best option that you have. Digitalization, immediacy. You're talking about being able to service the customer when he wants, in the quickest possible way, and in the most complete way. And if things go wrong, you want to have the customer solve his own problem. He can't be calling a call center and for you to accumulate all the data and say, is this the problem, is that the problem? Go to Amazon. How well they solve all your problems, right? They have all the data, and at the last step, if that doesn't solve your problem, then you call for an agent or a chat bot. That's how you should actually engineer your businesses too. There will be problems, but you need to be able to actually get technology to answer most of the customer queries so that you don't waste any cycles. You don't waste manpower. Outsourcing. Experts like CFO Bridge. You don't have to hire people who are experts. You just hire agencies, because that ensures continuity. I think it's very important for us to look at outsourcing as a business model which has come to stay. More and more people are going to be very excited about the CFO Bridge model, because what it affords them to do is not stick with just one company, but have the ability to deal with a variety of companies. I mean, one of the most exciting things that I did in the last 7 years is work with SMEs in the logistics sector, in the real estate sector, in the tech sector, in the financial services sector, in the retail sector. So you learn quite a bit from just the exposure. And the kind of talent that you actually derive into the company means that the cross-pollination happens, collaboration happens, and then a lot of experts get created. So they are able to actually make the difference to you in terms of the ability for you to handle those kind of issues and problems in double quick time, because they have the experience behind them. I guess we are stuck. You have to get this by heart, only then it'll move. There is a, well, this is, right? Your experts are like this, right? They know the answers to all the problems. They just don't know the problem. You could have all kinds of problems, but I thought this is a great thing about Google, right? So don't apply. I mean, we know everything about you. So I think there is a huge opportunity for people like CFO Bridge in all these aspects. I mean, you could be doing just a couple of them now, but I think there is quite a lot of activity with technology at the core. The whole idea of being able to use technology wisely within the organization for creating efficiency, effectiveness, and being able to be connected with the customer all the time, answering all the queries, being able to prosper, not to worry about scale. These are all very important aspects. And if an SME, the S and the M, if they have to go to multiple partners to get this, it'll never get done. They don't have the wherewithal. So this is something which you may want to think about, how you will expand your partnership to be the McKinsey, like you said, of all the SMEs. And it's a great opportunity. I mean, VC talked about 8 million SMEs and growing, right? The entire focus of the country, the Prime Minister and the Finance Ministry is on SMEs. They want to see, because this is the driver of growth. So this is a list for you, not for the SMEs. Thank you.
We have Ascent Foundation, our exclusive partners, and Ascent Foundation is nurtured by the Venerable Mr. Harsh Mariwala to nurture, to mentor SMEs to the next level. Set this up. So you know, it's the curator of Ascent Foundation is Archana Das, a good friend of us, and she is here. Glad to have Archana here, and Ravneet Singh from ES Pipeline and Archana are going to have a quick intro on what Ascent Foundation is all about. So, well, they requested for a high chair, so yeah. You're okay? That stable, Archana?
To be your.
Congratulations, sir.
Sure, sir. Just a second.
I can move that. I think the idea is the screen should be clear enough. They want to clear. Yeah, yeah. This works.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Archana Das. I head Ascent Foundation, and let me start by congratulating Srini and CFO Bridge for the completion of last 10 years. It's a huge achievement and a milestone that I can personally relate with, because Ascent also turns 10 this August. So a great congratulations to the team. Let me start by introducing Ascent a little bit. We are a not-for-profit founded by Harsh Mariwala, Chairman, Marico Limited, as introduced by Srini. This is his personal passion to identify high-potential, growth-ready entrepreneurs across the country and create this peer learning platform to enable not only to grow their own organizations, but grow as entrepreneurs as well. It's designed, like I said, as peer-to-peer learning platform that leverages the power of collective and enables entrepreneurs to share ideas, insights, challenges in a very safe, confidential, and non-judgmental environment. I think as entrepreneurs, everybody feels lonely and in their journey, and Ascent plays that role in terms of bringing peer learning and peer support. Today with me I have Ravneet Singh, who's Director Projects of ACE Group of Companies and who has been an Ascent member since the time that of inception and will be co-hosting this session. So instead of presenting a boring PPT, we thought we'll make it conversational between Ascent and a member who's been part of Ascent and closely associated with CFO Bridge as well. So welcome Ravneet, and I request you to introduce yourself, your organization and Ascent journey so far.
Thank you. Congratulations to Srini and the entire CFO Bridge team. My name is Ravneet Singh. I represent a group of companies called ACE Group of Companies. And we are basically in the oil and gas infrastructure installation space. And we are in the 34th year of since our inception. So we've been working there for quite a long time. And I've been an Ascent member for the past 10 years, so it's my 10th anniversary year as well. And in this journey, we've worked closely with CFO Bridge. Srini himself was our shared CFO at one point in time, so we've worked very closely with this team. And during this 10 years, we've grown from a company that was a single project company which would do one project in a year to a company today which is working in 14 states, and we install about 1,000-kilometer pipelines. So that's the growth that we've had over the last 10 years. And I think the CFO Bridge and Ascent Trust Group have a large role to play in that.
Okay, let's begin by asking a few questions to each other. You've been an Ascent member for 10 years, as you mentioned. What is it about Ascent and the Trust Group, which is the peer learning that we call at Ascent as Trust Group meetings, that kept you motivated over this across this 10 years?
Harsh Bhai, in quite a few occasions, keeps saying that entrepreneur's journey is very lonely, and it gets very lonely at the top. And this Trust Group basically gives you an ecosystem where the trust is earned over the set of years that you with them, and the ability to get advice and experiential learning from people who are in a similar stage of business life as yours, without any bias, without any judgment. This is something which is unparalleled, and this is something which I personally look forward to every month, meeting my Ascent Group members, and that's something which I love. Sorry. Archana, I have a question for you. I've seen the success that Ascent has achieved, and part of the success is basically the choice of group members in the cohort that you have. And the selection process for these group members is a very important thing, because it basically puts together the quality of the interaction. So could you please highlight the qualities and the criteria that one has to fulfill to become a group member? And could you also highlight the right composition that is required for a trust group?
Right. As you mentioned, that diversity is what allows Ascent to grow, and the more the kind of businesses and entrepreneurs are associated with Ascent, the better it is for Ascent. The criteria we're looking at is a turnover of 1 crore and above for a service company, and 5 crore and above for a manufacturing company. Having said that, that's not enough. We are looking at organizations which have at least 3 years of existence and are primed to growth. So while we are looking at enterprises which have these criteria that we are looking at, we are also looking at entrepreneurs who are wired to grow, who have the mindset to learn from each other and have the time, discipline and time commitment to learn from each other. That's very critical. So enterprise and entrepreneur both are very, very critical. And then of course we kind of take them on board and put them in smaller groups of 10 to 12 like-minded entrepreneurs, like you mentioned, same scale and stage of business. And these group meet each other in a very structured, in a very safe and confidential environment, month on month, and that's where the meeting And that's where the core and essence of Ascent is. Yeah, so that I'll tell you more about that as we go on. But success of a trust group and the value derived depends largely on the attitudes of the 10 to 12 entrepreneurs, especially, they're not coming from the same businesses, who have made part of the trust group. Ascent has been success, sorry, that's a question for me. I wanted to know that since the time that you've joined Ascent, how has the trust group impacted your own working style or your own leadership style? And how do you take these learnings from the trust group and apply it back into your business?
So there are two parts of this question. Basically, for me, every meeting that we do as a trust group starts with a check-in. And the check-in process is basically where you talk about the highs and lows of the month, be it personal, be it business, be it family. So what this has done is this has made me realize that whenever you come across a problem or with an employee or your co-worker or anybody else, there's more to it than meets the eye. So you go deep down and see that it could be a family issue that he's having, it could be a personal issue that he's having, and this is all thanks to the check-ins that we've been doing. And on the implementation on the business side, what we've seen is we as a group feed off each other's success. So what has happened is in a trust group, there is no competition. We don't want to outbeat each other, and we're working as a group where failures are our failures, the group's success is our success. And because of that, we go to the core of what is making us successful, and we imbibe the larger pictures, like what was presented a few minutes ago. So it could be technology, but why do you need that technology, and things like that.
But tell me something, during the pandemic, did the peer learning also become a peer support for you in some way?
So that's something which has been a big backbone for us. I remember when the lockdown happened, Archana, you had organized the first webinar, and at that time, Teams meeting or even Zoom calls weren't in fashion. So we all got in our accounts ready to attend this session, and Srini was talking about cash flows. And that was something important to us as a business, because for the first time we work with government projects, so cash flows was an issue to us which we had never foreseen. So he got us aware of this, and then subsequently he was working as a CFO for us, so he got working on the cash flows. But because of this one little spark that Archana set up, we remodeled our entire business. We started talking to our employees about their safety and how they can keep safe in the pandemic. And subsequently then we moved on to, till date, we review all our project meetings every week with our project managers and our foremen down the line at sites using these meetings. So that's the spark that you guys gave us.
So Srini, we are getting business your way, yeah?
So Archana, can you just share the onboarding process if an entrepreneur is interested in applying to Ascent? I've seen a lot of Ascent members, but I'm sure there'll be people who will be interested here.
Yes, I'm glad to see a few Ascent members here, and Akhilesh is one of them, so reach out to him if you want to know a lot more. Of course, Ravneet and me are here as well. In terms of the onboarding process, other than the criteria that I had mentioned, we are also there is a application process which is online that you need to fill. Let me warn you that it's going to be a long one, but for a reason. We're looking at quality entrepreneurs coming in, so that's very very critical for us. Then, of course, once you are shortlisted, you go through a group interaction, which we run like a peer group meeting for you to actually understand what you're getting out of the ecosystem. And you will meet like-minded entrepreneurs there as well. And once you're selected after a personal interview, you get put in one of these trust groups, like you mentioned, 10 to 12, completely diverse, completely non-conflicting, but the same scale and stage of business. So imagine you're going into a group of 10 to 12, let's say 10 in a group. 5 will be from manufacturing, 5 will be from service, 5 will be from family managed, and 5 will be from first generation. There will be a diversity in terms of the age group as well, because today, right now, our spectrum is anywhere from 1 crore to 2,500 crore turnover companies being represented. And we have different stratas, and we have different ways that we, there is a whole art and science which goes into forming this group, and that's very interesting for us. Do go through the process. It sounds Taxing it is not. It's a very enriching process even to go through the onboarding thing. And then you can be part of this trust group and gain maximum value of this peer learning and peer support that you are a part of. In terms of the annual commitment, we take out a very minimal amount of 10,000 as an annual fee, which goes towards putting all the events and knowledge sessions that we put together for our members. So over and above the trust groups and peer support, which is, we've talked so much about trust group right now, Ascent also conducts various knowledge sessions, one-on-one mentoring programs, coaching programs, workshops, events to ensure holistic and relevant learning experience for our members. Ravneet, have you been part of any sessions, and how has your experience been with the huddles and conclaves?
I think one of the experience that I just shared was the webinar that we had here. But the highlight of the year for me is the conclave. Conclave is where Ascent, the members get together. Ascent organizes leaders from the industry who come in and share their experience. Getting to know them up close or meeting them up close is a great experience. Apart from that, meeting up other group members in a conclave like this is amazing. You get to share ideas, you get to share the best practices. So it's a beautiful platform to have, and that's something I've attended with my dad, and who's not an Ascent member. I brought in my wife, she's come in voluntarily, I haven't brought her along. So that's the kind of pull and a draw that this conclave has had to my family as well.
In terms of the conclave also, like Ravneet mentioned, it's an annual event. This year, we're going to have it on 24th November at Geo Convention Center at BKC, which we're expecting 1,200 entrepreneurs across India to participate. And this will be a huge event. We've had speakers like Rajiv Bajaj, Uday Kotak, Kiran Majumdar Shaw, and Sangeeta Reddy in the past. Very important for us is not the kind of speakers that we're able to get, but the content curation, and it's highly curated to make it relatable, inspiring, and aspiring for the SMEs and MSMEs who come, and of course curated networking also. You get to meet like-minded entrepreneurs only at these conclaves.
Absolutely. So Archana, would you like to discuss the trust groups being non-transactional in nature?
Yes. Yeah.
And could you also share about the values that Ascent brings to the members in the entrepreneur journey?
Right. It is non-transactional by nature when you get into a trust group. It's very important, otherwise how will you trust somebody? But we are a community of 850 entrepreneurs across India at this point, and there are people who are doing business beyond their trust group, which is fine because we're creating a community with that. But within your trust group, that's not allowed, just to keep the trust intact among 10 to 12 entrepreneurs. Just to recap, we have trust groups, which are the peer learning and peer support. Over and above that, we have created other values in terms of curated mentoring, curated coaching programs. These are mentors who are ex-CEOs and CXOs from companies like Coke, Pepsi, SoftBank, Thermax. So these are people that you get access to by being part of Ascent. And of course, the knowledge sessions that we have throughout the year. Not just webinars, but huddles and huge and small and large format events as well. Yeah, so that's about Ascent in a small way that we try to introduce. If you have more questions, you have members here like Akhilesh who spoke earlier. Ravneet is here. My team member Ruchika is here as well. You can reach out to her and know more about it. I hope we're able to answer your questions about Ascent. If you're interested, please do go to our website, ascentfoundation.in, and get to know us more. We'd love to know from you as well. And thank you, Ravneet, for your time. And of course, thank you, Srini, for allowing us to be this exclusive partner for CFO Bridge, and good luck to the CFO Bridge team. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations again, sir. Mike is back to you.
Thanks, Archana. Thanks, Ravneet. Great to have you here today. I mean, ability to work together with Ascent Foundation is absolutely fantastic. We are very delighted. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to request everybody to take your seat, please. And very interesting 10 minutes, followed by another cracker of a session by a superstar, and then there are drinks and dinner. very quickly. We'll finish, and we are absolutely bang on running on time. Can I request everybody to take seat, please? Because this is a very, very important session, and this is just 5 minutes I will take, and then the most important session, that the keynote speaker session, is coming. So this is a little bit of a Thanksgiving. So I need to thank some of the people who have defined my thought process, stayed with me, helped me. And so first I would like to thank my family, Anita, my wife, Varun, and Tejas. They are all here. I'm glad to have them here. And they are the foundation. And thank you very much. Thank you very much for supporting me. Thank you very much for accepting the CFO Bridge journey, which was very, very tough in the early years. And I would like to thank all the CFO partners and our ecosystem partners, Deepak Maheshwari. Deepak Maheshwari, are you here? I see you. Yeah, thank you, Deepak. And all the partners and the staff. And thank you very much. And we would like to thank all our previous staff, ex-staff. I mean, we have got amazing from staff number 1. We have got Madhavan, we have got Akshay, we have got Harsh. I mean, everybody is here. Everyone who left CFO Bridge is now doing fantastic in MNCs, and they are drawing, multiple of the salaries. And they are doing really well because of the foundation that they have had and the grounding that they have had in CFO Bridge. So we have all of them here today. We haven't missed anybody else. Whoever has been here in Mumbai, everybody is here. Thank you very much, everybody else. And thanks to the team that put together this very well, which is Prerna and Ronak Karelia. I mean, they have, I have given them hard time. I mean, they have been here, and Hitesh Kotari and others. So now we will move on to a very, very important thing. And I could see Mr. Anup Singh, is he? So, yeah, so we got to recognize, right? What is a 10-year award celebration if there are no awards? So there are some awards. And the first person whom I would like to, really recognize, I will talk about this person. To give this award, I will request my ex-boss Sandeep Ghosh to come on stage. But I will finish the introduction. And I would like to talk about the elderly gentleman, Mr. Anup Singh. Anup Singh is the founder of ISR, ACE Pipelines. And, whenever I used to go to his office, I have always seen him coming to office. Please come. He is the first person to come to office and the last person to leave the office. And even at this age, he still comes to office. He still takes pride in working there. And he is single-handedly, he has brought up 2 of his sons. We have got Tarun and we have got Ravneet Singh. And they have grown this company from about 40-50 crores that we knew of to 500 plus crores now. And that's, it's a candidate for listing. And not only that, more than 5,000 kilometers of pipeline laid in this country has been laid by them. And all the gas and all the oil that we are getting in this country is coming through the pipeline that is laid by them. I mean, real hard work. They have brought in fantastic technologies like horizontal drilling into the country, and they have laid pipelines. Absolutely top-notch company that they have grown. Really wishing them to go to the highest levels, and all the very best. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for coming today, and we are blessed. Sandeep, please. It's actually our privilege to honor Anup Singh. The second Lifetime Achievement Award, I would like to say, is to my good friend, Bhairav Kotari. Is Bhairav here? I saw him. Okay, Bhairav. Why? Bhairav Kotari thought about shared service CFO long before anybody thought of it. In 2008, he began, a shared service CFO. He is the super CFO. He runs a company called Super CFO, and he's a friend, philosopher, and guide to me. I was supposed to join him in 2012 when I was evaluating doing something different. And Bhairav is a chartered accountant. He's pioneered the CFO solution category. He is the category creator. We are all the beneficiaries of this. And he founded Super CFO in 2008. And he was a recipient of the Best Young Entrepreneur Award in Financial Service Sector 2010, rich experience of over 24 years in finance. And in his spare time, Bhairav was involved in directing the first Gujarati animated movie, which was a success and continues to run successful shows at select locations in India and in US. He received a jury special award, GIFA, in March 2022, and the film has also been selected for International Gujarati Film Festival to be held in Atlanta in the month of May 2022. I'm sure it went up well. He is a Web3 enthusiast. He recently attended a Web3 and crypto metaverse seminar in US. I know I've been closely following him up. Even his son is a technology enthusiast, actively working on a couple of business ventures, blockchain-enabled fintech venture 2, metaverse 3, and smart contracts. He is one guy who is ahead of his time, and we are honored to recognize you. And to recognize him and give the award, may I request Vivi Balaji, CTO of ICICI Bank, on the stage, please. Thank you.
Can I take that? I'm going to steal some thunder.
No problem.
So, I was just sharing with someone earlier today. Srini, so someone was asking, so where are you going for the meeting? I said, look, technically he's my competitor. But we are friends. And believe me, there have been instances where Srini would say, Bhairav, here is a client, I'm maybe not able to handle, you take care, and vice versa. Since his day one, we keep meeting up, we chat, we exchange notes. This CFO fraternity is so small. And both of us strongly believe there's so much to do, so much to do. We want, and there is room and place for thousands of CFO firms. And there's so much fun when you work together cohesively as friends. It's been pleasure, Srini. And I must say, I'm super impressed with the way Srini has grown CFO Bridge. Hats off to you. Salute you for what you have done. And wish you many, many successes going forward. One picture together.
Yeah, super. Thanks. Now, time to recognize a few folks within CFO Bridge. He's the guy who walked into the office for an interview that he was not going to be recruited, but he has grown up to become the partner today. And my dear Hitesh Kotari, and one Kotari has gone, another Kotari has come. So Hitesh Kotari, an award for you for making CFO Bridge your career and taking it to the next level. There is, CFO Bridge and Hitesh Kotari are ubiquitous. And sorry, he's everywhere. And thank you very much, Hitesh, for being there and taking it to the next level. Thank you. Thanks. And then, calling on stage, Sachin Gokhale. Sachin, please come. Sachin, Sachin is a man who takes us to the next level. He always challenges us to think, and he has been one of the earliest partners, and he's the guy who is heading business for us in Pune region, and he ensures that we don't need to worry about staff. Our staff are enjoying working with Sachin now. Sachin has been a great strength and absolutely delight and pleasure to have him with us. Thank you very much, Sachin. Thank you having you. so much. Thank you. Thank you. One more couple of awards, small awards now. Calling on stage, Soumya Ramkumar. Soumya is a story in herself. She joined us immediately after qualifying her chartered accountancy. Now she got married and she moved to Bangalore, and now she is an internally produced CFO partner. She is managing several accounts on her own, and in fact, she is even traveling to Bhopal to manage one of the best AI companies, which is housed out of Bhopal, V360. She is their CFO already. She is the homegrown CFO of CFO Bridge. We are very, very proud of you, Soumya, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And the last but not least is Disha Shah. Where is Disha? Okay, Disha, once again, she is absolutely the power behind. I mean, she has filled up the vacuum that is left in Mumbai when Soumya moved to Bangalore. And, the bedrock, the fundamental, the basic of CFO Bridge values that we represent, and she represents all the values, and she helps and mentors all the staff who are coming in, and she is absolutely the brilliant person to have on board. Thank you, Disha, for all the good work that you have. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now I am going to talk about someone, the cracker of a session of the keynote session, which will wrap up, and then we will get on with what we need to do, which is start with what VC Karthik talked about, some drinks, and then followed by dinner. First, I pride myself that I am a chartered accountant. I worked for about 24 years before I quit and started CFO Bridge, all those things. But not before, in an Ascent Foundation meeting, I met with Dr. Anil Lamba. And most of you who traveled on the Mumbai-Pune Express Highway, you would have seen some picture of Dr. Anil Lamba. And when I met him, when I first met him, he talked about, Srini, do you know about 2 rules of the balance sheet? And then he said he wrote a book called Romancing the Balance Sheet. Then I realized the importance of that in practical life. I mean, in SME life, when you are working with them, in large companies, you don't even talk about making balance sheet because as a rule, it gets made. And he is one guy who asked you to romance the balance sheet, love the balance sheet, you make it. And absolutely the rules that he made and the interpretation of how to work with the balance sheet that he made is just so superb and lucidly written. And that's what has made us, and it gave us knowledge, which we did not have. I would honestly and shamelessly admit that even after 24 years, we didn't know those rules because they don't teach you those rules. And then, we realized he is the one guy who talked about the invisible dot that is connecting the liability side and the asset side. When Akhilesh was talking about, my father called me a liability, but then please remember, liability side is called source of funds. So you are not a liability, Akhilesh. So I think he is the guy who actually told you what is the connection between the source of funds and the application of funds, what rules that you should have, what rules that you should not flute, that you should not really, you should really comply and respect. So Dr. Anil Lamba, I call you on stage for the keynote address. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody, and what a pleasure it is to be here for the 3rd time. And if you remember, Srini mentioned in the beginning, this is the 3rd time he's hosting a party, so I've been here for all of them. And yes, Srini, it was a chance meeting, but I think the privilege has been mine, the honor has been mine. It's been, now I know you for 7 years, because first time I came to speak on the third anniversary. And I've seen Srini grow from strength to strength and learned a lot from him over the years. So Very, very happy to be here today again, and I hope whenever you hold next Srini, not the 20th, I hope, another, and let's make it an annual bash now onwards. I'm not sure whether my laptop has been connected yet or not, so I have to kill a little bit of time. I think while the technology people are struggling, you can rest your case. So Srini did warn us to transfer the presentation to his laptop, but somehow the fonts change, the the alignment changes, and true. Okay, guys, you can come back again once for the last time. Fault, I think, is mine. Srini did say send your presentation across. But very often when you move the presentation, the alignment goes off, the fonts. And so please bear with me. If anything is disaligned, blame it because we switched the laptops, not because my presentation is faulty. So once again, everybody, good evening. I've been given the topic to speak about how much profit is enough. Guys, let's try and make it a little interactive. You know, a few years back, a study was conducted of all the sick businesses in the world, businesses that had failed. And the idea was to find out why do businesses fail. Very often it so happens that technology changes. Some companies do not keep pace with technology. Mr. Ram is here, he is wholeheartedly agreeing with that. And companies become technologically obsolete. Others with newer technology at their disposal come into the picture and some of the older guys shut down. So do you think, now this is a question to you, do you think technological obsolescence could be responsible for a certain portion of sickness in industry? Possible. There could be a second category of entrepreneurs who technology-wise have no problems. Their problem is not in the ability to make. Their problem is they know how to make, but they don't know how to sell. Do you think marketing inefficiency can lead to sickness? There could be another category of businesses who know how to make, who know how to sell, but the misfortune is they have very militant and unreasonable trade unions, which go on extended periods of strike. So do you think, guys, labor problem can lead to sickness? The study conducted showed that out of all the sick businesses, over 95%, one more technological glitch, over 95% were not sick due to any of these three reasons. That means these three reasons and some more put together were responsible for not even 5% of business failures, and over 95% were sick due to one reason. यार ये नहीं चल रहा है अभी. Financial mismanagement. Guys, this is an undisputed fact that in the world, out of every 10 businesses that shut down, more than 9 shut down on account of financial mismanagement. And why does it happen? Don't people realize how important it is? Even if they do, your company can be guilty of financial mismanagement, because how many of you are non-finance people? Now it's moving faster than I wanted to. Answer is none of you are non-finance people. I'm going a little faster now because I know you're all waiting for dinner, so I'm going to ask the questions, I'm going to answer them myself to save some time. But normally if I ask a room full of people, how many of you are non-finance, almost every hand goes up, except the CAs. In this room, half the 50% hands should not go up. And my answer is that not a single person in your organization can say I'm a non-finance person. Now, what do I mean by that? You could be in charge of production, you could be in charge of marketing, you could be in charge of HR. And when I say all of you are finance people, the logical question that comes to mind, what do you mean? So question is, you know, when the real finance management is happening, people like me, so-called finance people, are not in the picture. Finance management is happening when every time a salesperson takes a decision to agree to an offer made to that person at a certain price or not. Finance management or mismanagement is happening when the materials manager is out there negotiating purchasing or deciding the quantity to be purchased. Financial management or mismanagement is happening when the HR person decides the number of people to be recruited, the terms on which to be recruited, etc. Guys, people like me who call themselves finance people come into the picture after everything has happened. We do a post-mortem and tell you whether the company has made a profit or not. What I'm trying to tell you is, even if you hire the best finance professionals, if they're going to do a post-mortem, by the time they come into the picture, it's already over. And therefore, because of this flawed perception of what finance management is. What is the consequence? 9 out of 10 businesses in the world fail due to bad finance management. One more question, guys, before I come to the real topic on hand. Tell me, if I ask you, how do you describe this company? What business are they in? Can I say this is a leading automobile manufacturer? How do you describe this company? Leading IT services company. And what about this company? They are a leading hospitality company. All these 3 answers are absolutely wrong. When I ask you, what are these 3 companies in? All these 3 companies are in the same business, and never to forget, the business of running a business enterprise is to make profit. Tata Motors does it via manufacturing automobiles, and Hilton does it through providing hospitality, but the objective of running a business enterprise is to make profit. So question is, if business is started with the single objective of making profit. At one time in India, profit was considered to be a bad word. And I think all of us have paid a price for that attitude. So if business is all about profit, then the question is, how much profit is enough? Because I've always said there's a fine line between making profit and profiteering. We are in business to make profit. We are not here to profiteer. Guys, to understand that, tell me, your revenue should cover cost of production. Do you all know your company's cost of production? If you're a manufacturing company, I think so. Do you know your company's cost of administration? Probably yes. Do you know your company's cost of selling? Probably yes. Do you know your company's cost of capital? I'm not sure. Guys, your profit should be enough. In fact, your revenues should be enough to cover all these. And this thing moves way before, it's speed of thought actually. So when I turn back, there's a different slide compared to what I expect to find. My question is, how many of you in this room know your cost of capital? In fact, do you even know how much is the capital of your company? Let me see some hands. How many of you know your cost of capital, guys? Okay, right now hands are not going up. Probably you're worried about the consequence of raising the hands, but but my experience is, normally if I ask a room full of 100 entrepreneurs, and I do it very often, let's say addressing a FICCI conference or a CII or a YPO or somewhere, and let's say there are 100 people there, and you say, how many of you know your cost of capital? After asking this question for the first 15 to 30 seconds, nothing happens. And then gradually, reluctantly, 1, 2 or 3 hands go up. And then when I start quizzing them, I realize their perception of cost of capital and what I'm going to tell you probably is poles apart. Now your revenue has to cover cost of production, cost of selling, cost of admin, and cost of capital. Very often, it doesn't cover the cost of capital. Why? Because you don't even know what your cost of capital is. So let's have a little discussion on that. Giving you a little 101 on balance sheet. Guys, Srini already introduced the balance sheet. He said his dad called him a liability, and he reminded his dad, liabilities bring money to the organization, to the house. So liability side tells you where the money has come from. Where does it come from? When a business is started, when CFO Bridge started, obviously all the money, his wife will bear with it, came from Srini's pocket, right? So the money comes from the owner. That's called, let's say, capital. 300 crores comes from there. And let's say you go to a bank or somebody and you borrow. Another 400 crores has come from there. Bankers, since they don't take risks, get a fixed return. Owners take the risk, and therefore, when the businesses don't earn, they get nothing. And when businesses earn, theoretically, they're supposed to get everything. But rarely that happens. Hardly a business will give the entire profit to the shareholders. So when part of the profit is taken away by the owners, the remaining part is left in the company. That becomes a further contribution of the owner that appears as reserves. Pardon me, those of you who are very familiar with the balance sheet, I'm addressing even if there's one person in the room who doesn't understand this. So guys, owners contribute in two ways: direct when they put in capital, indirect when they leave behind profits. Outsiders contribute in two ways: give you loans in cash, and sometimes instead of money, they start lending you goods and services and agree to pay later. That appears as a current liability. Money goes into two avenues: creation of fixed assets and working capital. Now my question was, do you know how much is your capital? Now imagine this is your balance sheet. Now tell me, how much is the capital of this organization? Anyone? Can I say the capital of this company is 300? 900? Do I need to stand here? 700? 500? 800? What do you think, guys? How much is the capital of this company? Unless you know capital, you can't work out cost of capital. 900? 500? I seem to be holding an auction or something. I think for the purpose of this discussion, you must interpret the word capital to mean 1,000. The logic of this is, you must remember, the left-hand side of the balance sheet has a cost, and the right-hand side has an obligation to earn for you a return which is at least equal to the cost. But the question is, if 1,000 is the capital of this company, and the 1,000 is made up of 4 components, which of these 4 components has a cost? Does owner's money have a cost? Are you supposed, if a business makes a loss, are you supposed to pay the banker still? Yes. Are you supposed to pay the owner? If a business makes a loss, the owner's condition was, if you don't make a profit, I will take nothing. And to compensate for that risk, when you do make a profit, I will take everything. So if you don't have to pay the owner, this should be considered as free. One slide before that, Bain and Company did a research, and they found that in America, 9 out of 10 companies do not even earn a return equal to the cost of capital. So guys, owner's money is free, because cost is something which you have to pay notwithstanding. What about reserves? Dividend, if any, is given on capital. Interest is given on loan. Do you pay anything to anybody on reserves? No, so it's free. Loans in this case, 400, have a cost. At the rate of 12%, what does it cost you? Can somebody keep changing the slide when I tell you to? Yeah? Okay, at 12%, 400 will cost you 48. And what about the vendor? This company went to the vendors, said, supply us goods and services, we'll pay you next month. Next month, when you go with a check, will the vendor say, give me interest also? No. So can I say that is free? Guys, how much is the capital of this company? 1,000. How much is the cost? 48. So how much is the average cost of capital? 4.8%. I said the business will make money, make profit in the real sense of the term when your profit equals or exceeds the cost of capital. So supposing this company tomorrow earns a profit of, or they meet an opportunity where they can earn 4%, should that opportunity be accepted? No. And what if they can earn 10%? How much is the cost of capital? 4.8. If they can earn 10%, can this opportunity be accepted? Yes? Next. Folks, are you agreeing with me so far? If you are agreeing with me so far, we have a serious problem. Let's go back. Let's imagine, next. Imagine a company owes a bank, let's say for argument's sake, 10 crores. Now how many of you are not happy when I said owner's money is free? Anyone not happy when I put a 0 against owner's money? So I'm going to ask you differently. This company has borrowed money from the banker, they have borrowed money from the owner. At the end of a certain period, let's say they owe the bankers 10 crores. What about the owners? You do not owe them anything, but the owners have an expectation. Those of you who were not happy when I said owners' money is free, you said even owners are investing money with an expectation of a return. Let's say if you meet the owner's expectation, it is going to cost you. Guys, all this I was telling you, please pardon it, is because change of laptop, things are just spreading all over. So just focus on the message and ignore the quality of presentation, please. This company owes the banker 10 crores. Owners are hoping to get 10 crores. If they have to satisfy both of them, they will need a minimum bank balance of 20. They find in the bank they have 10 crores. That means they are either in a position to pay the banker or the owner. Who will they pay? Why banker? You made a commitment. If you don't pay, the fellow is going to charge you interest and perhaps interest on interest, compound interest. And what will happen? You lose credibility. Do you think he'll give you loan next time? Probably not. And of course, when the banker said, the condition is you have to pay, and you agreed, but the banker didn't take your word for it. Then he took your building as security and all the equipment was hypothecated. Then he told the owner, that personal house of yours also, can you give me? And then can you request a few friends to give their houses also, etc., etc. So when a banker says I have to be paid, banker means I have to be paid. And if you don't pay, he should be able to come and sell off all your assets and recover the money. And what about the owner? The poor owner had said upfront, take my money. If you don't make a profit, you don't give me anything. And of course, to compensate for that, when you make a profit, I will take everything. So guys, when a company finds they owe the bankers 10 and the shareholders are hoping to get 10 and they have just about 10, chances are they will pay the bankers and default on the shareholders. Ladies and gentlemen, to a large extent, all this is absolute theoretical nonsense. In real life, there are enough situations where faced with a choice of this kind, this company may go ahead and pay the shareholders, even if it means defaulting on the bank. So the question to come to your mind has to be, why? Why is this person committing a foolish act like this? Why is he paying an entity like a shareholder who is completely powerless to do anything if you do not pay him? And you are not only paying the shareholder, you are paying him at the cost of not paying an entity like a bank, which controls your life strings. He can sell you off. Why are you committing suicide? And to cut a long story short, today is not the time to go long, but point is, if you don't pay the bank, and I'm assuming this guy's not a crook. I'm not talking about a Vijay Mallya, I'm not talking about a Nirav Modi, I'm talking about a genuine, honest entrepreneur. This entrepreneur is so professional, he genuinely believes owners and bankers are both lenders. It is equally important to reward both of them. However, due to recession, due to pandemic, there was a cash crunch. And they found they were in a position to pay 1 out of 2 lenders. The only crime committed by this company is when they had to choose between these 2 lenders, they seem to have chosen the shareholder and not paid the banker. And now what will happen? As I said, to cut a long story short, chances are after a few months he'll sit with the banker, he will make the banker agree to restructure the loan and probably give him a plan of action how to get out of this mess. And the banker will probably not only restructure, may pump in some more money to help him stand back on his feet. Point I'm trying to make is, guys, if a genuine entrepreneur, due to genuine reasons for circumstances beyond his control, if he can't pay the banker, perhaps the same banker will pump in money and bail him out of his problems. But guys, if you don't pay the owner, it could well be the last public issue of your life. Or I'm asking you once again, does owner's money have a cost? I completely agree with those of you who were not happy when I put a 0 against owner's money. Of course, owner's money has a cost. It will be naive to think owner's money is free. And because so many entrepreneurs treat their own money as free, Bain and Company says 9 out of 10 in US are earning a return which is consistently not even covering the owner's cost of capital. So if owner's money has a cost, then the next question is, how much is the cost? So first of all, guys, you will agree, we have to recalculate this 4.8%. Just wait for my signal before you change. Guys, if we have to recalculate 4.8%, how much should I put against the owners? Tell me, what is the most expensive loan that you have come across? 10%, 11%, 12%? 30 in the worst case scenario, 15%? What is the cheapest share that you have seen from a dividend perspective? Have you noticed even when B-grade companies give dividend, they land up giving 30, 40%? I'm now trying to tell you not only owner's money has a cost, but the cheapest share is perhaps more expensive than the most expensive loan. How much dividend Reliance used to give? If I'm not wrong, I think they started with 50% in the year of inception. Bajaj Auto used to give 100% dividend, I do not know for how many years, continuously. L&T, where I am training 100,000 people in one company alone, L&T a few years back gave a dividend of 14 rupees per share. Share has a face value of 2. 700% dividend. Following year, they gave a 1:1 bonus. And after a 1:1 bonus, they gave a 10 rupee 50 paisa dividend. A 10 rupee 50 paisa dividend after a 1:1 bonus is equal to 21 rupees before the bonus. A 21 rupee dividend on a 2 rupee share is a 1,050% dividend. And then the next year they gave 16 rupees. Then they gave another bonus. Then they gave 18 rupees. Hero Motors shareholders received an interim dividend of 3,500%. 70 rupees on a 2 rupee share. Interim, followed by another final dividend. Point I'm trying to make is, does owner's money have a cost? Answer is, not only it has a cost, it has a huge cost. But am I saying owner's money has a cost only when you're a public limited company? What if you're a proprietary concern? Now does owner's money have a cost? Now the approach has to be different. Why did the owner invest money in this company? If the owner did not invest, he could easily have put his money in a bank and earned 4-5%. In bonds, 8-10%. In risky ventures, 15-18%. Guys, do you think an owner will ever invest money in his business unless he is absolutely confident what I will earn in this business is greater than what I can earn outside? And when this person invests outside, when he puts it in a bank, when he puts it in stocks, who's working? His money is working. He is free. But when he puts money in business, he not only puts in money, but then he starts working morning 8 o'clock to evening 9 o'clock. And in the process invites blood pressures and stresses and ulcers. Does he not deserve 10-15% for that? I'm saying whichever way you look at it, 20-25% on your money, 15% for your health. Unless a business can earn for the owner a minimum return of 40-50%, I don't think it's worth investing. Now, when I make a statement like this in front of a room full of owners like today, what kind of statement? That don't even start a business unless you can earn a minimum return of 40-50%. By now, half a dozen owners are on their feet. That, Anil, how much did you say? 40-50%? Can you show me a business which earns that kind of return? Then I need to explain, what do I mean by 40-50%? I don't think today is the time to explain, but all I'm saying is, guys, I'm not talking about profit margin. Those of you who think I'm talking about too high a figure are misinterpreting this as a profit margin. I am talking about ROI. To give you a quick example, I'm a director in an IT peripheral company. Huge turnover. Probably most of the gadgets you have been brought into the country by them. Large turnover, but wafer-thin margin, not even funny. Guys, this company, when they bring the goods into the country, they release it from customs, distributed across the country, and money collected. The cycle should finish in 7 days. If it takes 8 days, they make a loss. It's that thin a margin. But if they can collect it in 7 days, this money gets rotated 52 times in a year. Even if the margin is 1%, 52 rotations in a year, they get an ROI of 52%. Margin is 1%, ROI 52. I'm talking about ROI. So those of you who think this number is too high, sir, it's not high, it's a conservative number. Are we okay so far? I am exceptionally fast today, only knowing Srini, I don't want to delay your dinner too much, not yours, their dinner too much. So, but if something you don't understand, please raise your hand and ask me. So I'm going to put 40% here. What about reserves? Do reserves have a cost? Dividends are paid on shares. Interest is paid on loans. Do you pay anything to anybody on reserves? Answer is no. Can I say reserves are free? Answer is no. Even reserves belong to the owners. It was the owner's decision how much money to take home and how much to leave behind. When will you leave behind and when will you take it home? Because if you take it home, you can deploy it elsewhere. You can invest it somewhere else. So you will only leave it in the company if you think I can earn more on that money inside the company than I can earn outside. So frankly speaking, I should be putting 40% here also. But since I'm taking a conservative approach, can I put a rock bottom 15%? The CAs in the room will start an argument with me. How can you discriminate between the first item and the second item, frankly speaking? But I'm just making the numbers palatable for you. So I'm putting a very, very small 15% against reserves. First item has a cost. Second item has a cost. Third item has a cost. That leaves you the vendor. You went to the vendor. You said, supply me material. I will pay you next month. Promptly next month, you went with a check. Will the vendor say, I want interest also? Most likely no. Can I say this is free? Answer is no. How is it not free if you don't have to pay interest? Guys, if you pay to the vendor on the due date, the vendor will not ask you for interest. But if you go to a vendor to whom you owe money next month, go today and tell the vendor, I can pay you this money today. Will you give me a discount? I think the junior most officer in the vendor's organization will probably be empowered to say, if you're going to pay me money before time, I'll be very happy to extend to you a cash discount. A CD is what they call in India, at the rate of, I think 2% per month is industry standard in India. 2% per month translates into 24% per annum. How can a vendor give you a discount at an effective rate of 24% per annum just because you're giving money before time? And the answer is the vendor can afford to do that because this is the kind of interest the vendor has already built into the quotation the day they quoted to you on a 30, 60, 90-day basis. Guys, 2% per month translates into 24% per annum. Since I'm taking a conservative approach, can I at least put 1.5% a month? 18% per annum? Let's now recalculate the weighted average cost of capital. This company has borrowed 300 at 40%, 200 at 15%, 400 at 12%, and 100 at 18%. What does money cost this company? 216, or effectively 21.6%. What did I tell you? What was the rule? The rule says first understand cost of capital. And then you got to make sure your assets generate a return which is at least equal to the cost of capital. Why do I say equal to? Why not? Shouldn't I be saying assets should earn a return greater than the cost of capital? Answer is equal to is good enough. Why is equal to good enough? Because in this 21.6, we have built, hold it, we have built everybody's expectations, including the owners. That means if this company earns a 21.6% return, the employees of this company will get salary, the vendors of this company will get paid, the landlord will get rent, the banker to this company will earn 12%, and the owners will earn 40%. So at 21.6%, everybody's expectations are met. First of all, you must understand 21.6% is meaningless. If your company's capital is 1,000 crores, then your profit in absolute amount should be 216 crores. What if this company makes a profit of 100 crores? On the face of it, it's a profit-making company. But guys, at 100 crores, what will happen? Chances are it's a profit-making company. Employees will get salary. Landlord will get rent. Vendors will get paid. Bankers will get 12%. But who will not get? The owners. They said, we want 40, 50%. They'll be taking home 5, 6, 7, 8%. Would you call that business a success? Is it a sustainable proposition? Once in a while, if the owners do not get their desired rate of return, it's okay. They're the risk takers. But folks, if year after year after year, the owners continue to get 5, 6, 7%, it's not difficult to visualize sooner or later these owners getting together, calling a roundtable conference, having a little discussion. Why did we start this business? Did we start the business so that we can generate employment in the country? Did we start the business so that vendors can make money, bankers can make money? Or did we start it so that we can make money? Except for us, everybody is making, it's a matter of time before they will shut it down, and then nobody will make money. So how much profit is enough? It is enough when everybody gets their desired rate of return. And if you generate a return higher than 21.6%, chances are employee will get the same salary, banker will get the same interest, landlord will get the same rent, but the owner said, I want 40%, owner will be taking home 50, 60, 70. That, according to me, is success. To have outperformed the owner's expectation is to have succeeded in the real sense of the term. Give me 2 more minutes and I'm going to give you 2 pieces of bad news which might take your sleep away. Ideally, I should stop over here. But guys, bad news number 1. Next. How much does the left-hand side cost this company? 21.6. How much should the right-hand side earn for their minimum? 21.6%. Bad news number 1 is left-hand side of your balance sheet has a cost. Entire left-hand side has a cost, but the entire right-hand side doesn't earn. Why does it not earn? I'm giving you some homework today. Homework number 1, tonight, calculate your own cost of capital. Homework number 2, make a list of your assets. What kind of assets do you have? Depending on what you do. Land, building, plant, machinery, equipment, inventory, delivery vans, cafeterias, art on the wall, money in the bank, debtors, whatever you have. You will discover against every asset you will be able to write the letters, either the letters PA or the letters NPA. What does PA stand for? Obviously, we all know from a banking context. I'm talking about in an industry context. PA is performing asset, NPA is the non-performing asset. What do you mean performing and non-performing? If you own a car and the car runs beautifully, is it a performing asset or a non-performing asset? Guys, your car is a non-performing asset. The taxi owner's car is a performing asset. So by non-performing, I mean some assets earn for you, other assets do not earn for you. My experience is if you happen to be an extremely lucky organization, chances are your breakup between performing, non-performing could be something like 50-50, if you're lucky. If not, the NPA can be higher. Tell me, how does it alter your equation? How much does the left-hand side cost you? 21.6. How much should the right-hand side earn for you minimum? 21.6%. And now to your horror, you discover half the right-hand side doesn't earn. So how much should the other half earn for you? Oops. Oops. 43.2%. Second and last piece of bad news, which might take away your appetite, and Srini will be very upset, but at the risk of that, I'm going to tell you. Guys, second piece of bad news is even performing assets do not perform throughout the year. If you happen to work 6 days in a week, 52 days those performing assets are not performing. God forbid if you follow a 5-day week, 104 days those assets don't perform. Then India is a land of festivals. God knows how many more holidays come in. And then you have, if you are a manufacturing company, you'll have breakdowns, you'll have maintenance shutdown, then there are annual leaves, then there are sick leaves. Somebody has worked out the best organization in the world performs not more than 2/3 of the year. Guys, but do you realize liabilities don't take holidays? Has any banker ever told you, oh, you don't work on a Sunday? All right, no need to pay me interest for a Sunday. Never. Liabilities perform 365 days. Even performing assets do not perform throughout the year. And you are now expected to earn 43.2%, but over 2/3 of the year, the effective targeted annualized rate of return becomes. I'm not going to clarify whether you're understanding or not, because just in case your appetite hasn't been lost, let me not make sure it goes. But guys, you must understand the source that provided the money is costing you 65%. If you find 1 rupee on the right-hand side, which is idle for 1 day more than necessary, the pain has to be felt here. What are you doing idle, damn it? This meter is costing 65%, you should be out earning 65. Because if you don't earn 65 today, your neighbor will have to earn 130, 65 for you and 65 for itself. Thank you very much. Thank you for the patience for waiting for all that glitches that we had. Once again, Srini, congratulations.